Roman is the biggest bad guy character in professional wrestling.
When's the last time you got laid?
French toast is the exchange student that you have like a 3-week affair with.
Like, we can see that you don't have pants on.
Can we tell the truth about Dusty sooner or later?
Bro, less people wanted that than are currently watching our stream.
And you know Vince, and you still think, are these true? It's like...
Welcome to the Mark It Down podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Mark It Down podcast. My name is Nick Cummings, and I have been laughing at James Asante here for the last 5 days because of Juan Soto. But it is the only joke I'm going to make about that, as we are back here once again to review another episode of AEW Dynamite.
You needed to get that in. You needed to get the koozie in. You're a walking flag right now, but you had a little topper on top of it.
It was the subtle joke. Yes, James, thank you.
Subtle
As a brick. Anyway, tonight was Winter is Coming. Obviously, one of the bigger shows for AEW. There's always something big that happens, usually a grand return or a debut, but we'll get to that later. As we started off tonight's episode with a match between Jon Moxley and Pack of the Death Riders facing off against, as they said this repeatedly, the unlikely tag team of Switchblade Jay White and Orange Cassidy. Before the match even started, as Orange and Switchblade were trying to communicate to each other who was going to start the match, and Switch was very adamant that he was going to, but he has back turned to the Death Riders. So when they attempted to jump those two men, Orange quickly turned him around and smoked out them trying to get the drop, and the four brawled out of the ring all the way around it until eventually White and Moxley ended up into the ring and started the match. We're also shown very early on that one Christian Cage was sitting up in a luxury box with his family until we were later showed that he sent away Nick Wayne, his mother, and Kip Sabian to go take care of something. Nigel speculated maybe it was to go get a drink. Can't blame him if it was. Anyway, back in the match we had a little bit later, after he was able to hit a Dragon Screw leg whip on Pac, both Switchblade and Pac made hot tags to Orange and Moxley respectively, and that led to a hockey fight between the two, and that ended with Orange taking down Moxley with a diving DDT that Moxley was able to kick out of. Mox got a sleeper hold following the kick out, but Orange breaks out of it, and then things started breaking down from there as Pac got into the ring, but Orange was able to hit a tilt-a-whirl DDT on to Mox, and then when he went for the tilt-a-whirl DDT on Pac blocked it, but Orange, being Orange, was able to change that into a Stun Dog Millionaire, and then Jay White joined the fray, hitting Pac with a cutthroat suplex. Orange then hit a beach break onto Moxley, and Moxley was barely able to kick out, so Orange goes into the corner to line up for the Orange Punch. However, Wheeler Yuta then jumped up onto the apron to distract the referee, while Marina Shafir, who was also at ringside, went to go grab Orange's boots, presumably to pull him out of the ring. However, Orange, ever wise to their shenanigans, was able to turn around and boot Mariah, in her shoulder, nothing too physical, away from him, and hit Yuta with an Orange Punch, following it up with one to Moxley. Moxley was then down, and Orange was lining up for a final one, presumably for the knockout blow. But one Hangman Adam Page then rushed into the ring and just basically double-legged Moxley, causing the DQ as he began to rain in punches. So a very annoyed Orange Cassidy comes over and tries to pull Hangman off of Mox, but Hangman gets up and shoves Mox and then goes right back down to the grounded pound. So now Orange, who's very pissed off, comes over and much more forcefully pulls Hangman off of Moxley. So Hangman gets up and just starts throwing punches at Orange, and the two have a back and forth trading hands until Page is able to get Cassidy down in the corner. This allows Jay White to come into the ring, and he goes after Page, and the two trade punches with Switchblade forcing Page into the corner, but then Page ducks one and starts running back into the middle of the ring. Recovered Orange Cassidy then goes for the Orange Punch on Hangman, but Hangman slips it, and Cassidy accidentally hits Switchblade, who goes down, and then Orange hits Hangman with one anyway, and it looks like that's going to be the end of that. But Switchblade is able to quickly recover and hit a Blade Runner onto Orange, leaving all three men down. During all of this chaos, Moxley was able to slip away, and the Death Riders were able to regroup on the outside. And seeing all three of these guys down, they went into the ring and just beat the shit out of all of them until eventually Moxley had decided they inflicted enough damage, and the group left. So, James, this was a good opening match. Had a lot of good talent in it. It had some good spots. It was a little slow in the middle there as just Jay White was getting the absolute brakes beaten off of him in order to get all the heat. But I really enjoyed the ending sequence, and I was a little disappointed we didn't get a finish in this match, but I think it did lead to some good stuff both after the match itself and then in a couple of segments when we returned from commercial as we set up for World's End.
It's funny because we were very, I don't want to say critical, but we talked about last week how we felt that it was a great show that just had some really weird placement and really weird scheduling. And I feel like today had that a little bit too. The moment I saw this didn't main event, I knew something big was going to happen in the main event with Mariah and with Mina.
Yeah.
So I think if it wasn't for that return, this should have once again been the main event segment where you have these four main eventers battling it out, and then you have the fifth man show up in Hangman, and that's a great way to end your show. That's a great way to get people talking to keep people talking once your show is over. So again, I get it because the return at the end of the night was huge, but I feel like it's just at least 2 weeks in a row now where things didn't really flow the way they should have. As for the match itself, yeah, there was a little bit of a lull in the middle, but overall I enjoyed it. It had that like spammy essence that I enjoy sometimes out of my matches, especially in matches that aren't necessarily big stakes. So it was fun.
All four-man tags, as you could call this.
I am going to say something. I brought it up in our group chat, and I don't really remember if anybody responded to it. And I don't know if this is a hot take or not. I think Orange's beach break maneuver is not a good finisher.
It isn't really one. He doesn't have like a set finisher. He can finish with the orange punch or the beach break, but he needs to hit multiple of either of them or one of them. So I don't mind the way it's used. He just has a bunch of signatures, and one of them will eventually end the match. I do feel like he has almost gotten worse at it as time has gone on.
Yeah, it's a backflip at this point.
It used to be an air raid crash, and he's doing it so quickly. Yeah, it's almost like a backflip or a back body drop.
It's really weird, and I love Orange. Like, please, I'm not criticizing Orange. It's just I'm not crazy about that as a finish. Like, if I saw that as a finish, I'd be like, really? But
yeah,
it didn't, so it's not a big deal. Before I continue, we should acknowledge we have a very active comment section going on right now.
Yep.
So first of all, Danny, of course, who can't be here for multiple reasons, I assume, says that waiting till the end to talk about the Toni return is wild, but he figures that since James is here, it makes sense.
I mean,
I wasn't even in charge of this. I didn't decide.
You have comments on the structure of the show, be on the show.
Yeah, that's super meta. Hunter Iggy, what up, Hunter? Thank you for being here. Hope you're doing well. Danny saying nonsense. You know it. Sup, you know it. Hi guys. I got you guys a Timex sponsor, but I was late. Deals off. You know, long-time viewers of AEW and BTE, we know that sometimes these licensing deals, these partnership deals, they don't always go the way we hope. It could be worse. It could have been Chili's.
Could be right.
But we appreciate the idea.
It actually is raining.
Yeah. Danny just being nonsensical once again. FM, what's up, FM? It looks like Timeless retired, but not Toni. Hey, we're going to talk about it a little bit later, but very interesting developments with a very interesting performer.
I missed the hat.
You missed the hat?
I
Oh,
missed
like
Toni's hat. Yeah.
Nah, she looks great.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I missed her wearing her hat. I, sucker for a woman in a flapper.
FM saying overall sentiment that he's heard or they've heard is that this show is really good tonight. Do we agree? I thought tonight was a really good show. A good mix of action, a good mix of plots being moved forward, and obviously some very fun surprises.
Yeah,
and
like Toni Storm.
We haven't gotten to it yet, but man, am I just loving. I really want to talk about it, but like Bandito is just tickling my funny bone, bro. Yeah, I'm just enjoying this so goddamn much. And we'll talk about it when we get to it, but especially in the weeks where we're dealing with the Lucha Bros having like very vocal complaints about treatment from AEW. I don't think you could have planned this better.
Yeah, and I will say AEW always does well with Winter is Coming, like I said at the top of the show. So I'm not surprised this was a good show. I think a lot of the most recent sentiment I was reading on Twitter before we hopped on here was people are very not excited not only to see Toni Storm, but to see her back as her old gimmick. And I'm good with it either way. I love Toni Storm. I love this version of Toni Storm. I'm just happy to see Toni back. She is a very big part of this women's division.
Yes.
And while Mariah's been doing a great job, but having her, for whatever reason, Tony Khan loves Toni Storm. And we were talking about last week how without Toni Storm there, Tony Khan has been reverting to his old ways of booking the women. So hopefully with Toni Storm back, Tony Khan can go back.
Should we just talk about it? Because our comment section is all talking about Toni.
I was going to say we should briefly finish up on anything you have left on this opening match, but yes, we should get to Toni Storm.
All right. In regards to the rest of this opening match, I think Christian, who is a very smart character, is acting very stupid, and I don't like that. The whole point of like a Money in the Bank situation or whatever the equivalent may be is that you never know when to expect the cash in, and on a weekly basis Christian is reminding everybody that he's got it and he will be doing it. I'd rather he is way more low-key about it.
Kind of like last week where he like just kind of hovered there and then left.
It's like make me forget, make me not think about it, and whatever. It's a bummer, but maybe it's because he's not going to actually succeed. Maybe. I don't know, but lots of options with that. And Hangman interrupting. I get not wanting to let the Death Riders take a loss. So the DQ is a good way of protecting them. But it just felt so silly. To me, it felt so silly out of nowhere.
I thought it not only protected the Death Riders, it protected everybody because of what resulted in terms of the Fatal 4-Way match that they ended up making in a little bit. So, which we'll get to after we talk about Toni. So, I thought it was a solid thing with the protection. As for Christian, as Danny said, he's not trying until Copeland comes back. That's possible. I don't really know what his deal is because you were saying he looks stupid like hanging around. At the same time, the other current Money in the Bank holder is Tiffany Stratton, and she's been running around with one of the champions and was on a War Games team with both of them and even thought about cashing in the middle of that match. So, well, that was a surprise. But
that's an example of being hidden in plain sight. You know, it's like, I am here and everybody's waiting for it. Everybody's expecting it. But it's not going to happen until it happens, as opposed to Christian, who's just like, it's happening soon. Yes. Yes. Look at me in the rafters. Look at me in this box. I promise you, I will be cashing in soon. Canada.
Admittedly, I saw, I think it was Humble Wrestling over on Twitter, say that Christian has been in a bit of a holding pattern since he has won this contract. And I would actually tend to agree. He is doing stuff. There is the stuff with Hook, which we will talk about, and he is hovering around John Moxley like a shadow. But it does feel like a holding pattern. Like they don't really want to pull the trigger on anything too deep with him this way. The second that they do want him to cash in that contract and succeed, then it won't cause problems with other stuff.
I also do want to acknowledge Danny saying Christian isn't going to try until Cope comes back. I hope not. I have no desire left to see Cope and Christian going at it. Cope won the feud. Yeah. If he continues to fuck with Christian, like he's the bad guy. Like he's a bad guy here. Like just move on. Go after the TNT title again. Who's the TNT champion right now?
Garcia.
Garcia. Ooh, that's going to be rough. But go after the title that you had to vacate. Don't go after Christian.
Well, we can see who's the Continental champion at the end of all this, and maybe he feuds with them if it's a heel. So, there are options for Copeland if they want.
I have another Canadian in mind for that Continental title.
Okay, but all right, let's get okay.
With
Fair
one
enough.
wing, with one wing, Kenny Omega.
But all right, let's talk about it. Everyone wants to talk about it. Let's get to it. After the match between Mariah May and Mina Shirakawa for the AEW Women's Championship, we'll talk about the title match later. But after Mariah's win, her celebration was cut short as we heard the guitar riff of the theme song of One Toni Storm. She came out in her old leather gear with the backwards baseball cap and the one line of eye black, seemingly retiring this timeless gimmick. So, James, I figure that's where you want to go with this. The fact that we have gone back to this old school Toni Storm character. As I mentioned, I loved both of their characters. I loved her character beforehand. I just like Toni in general. I don't think she's really ever done poor work anywhere. So I'm very cool with her bringing this back. I am very much going to miss Timeless Toni Storm if this is a permanent thing, or nothing's really permanent in wrestling. But I think Danny mentioned, too, we could see the three faces of Toni Storm as well. If she accidentally starts switching back and forth. I saw somebody on Twitter maybe suggest that maybe Toni just did this to get under Mariah's skin, and it's just Timeless Toni Storm acting as
that would be
Toni
great,
Storm.
actually. Quite the performance.
Yeah, so we are left with a bit of a tease here to wonder where Toni's going to go with this. But the fact that she is back is so great for AEW, the women's division, and for us as fans, because I think we all really missed her.
So let me acknowledge that point first, where it's so great that she's back, period, for the roster, for TV time, for the fans. It's great that Toni's back. She is without a doubt the biggest women's draw that they have. And I think she left a hole when she left. There was a sentiment a couple months ago. Well, go for it. Hit it.
Oh, no, I was laughing at its comment saying the Continental title should go to Americans 20 times in a row like the NHL championship. The Stanley Cup hasn't been won by a Canadian in a long time, in reference to you thinking a Canadian should win the Continental title.
I'm all for it. I don't care. I want Kenny. I had been vocal in the past that I've always appreciated and respected Toni, but there was always something that sort of was missing that didn't fully connect with me until she went timeless. So I am very excited to see this return to this old character, because now that my eyes have been opened to how good she really is and how big a fan I am, I'm interested in seeing how I'm going to respond to this character that I had a different view on back in the day. I think what made Toni work as timeless wasn't the gimmick itself. It was Toni's commitment to the gimmick and her zaniness, her personality just going wild with the character. And I'm going to miss Timeless, and I want Timeless to not be gone forever, but to be something that can cycle in and out from time to time. But I think now that we know that Toni is so creative and can do so much, let her do it with her normal gimmick. Let her do it as Toni Storm, not Timeless.
Yeah, I can see what you're saying, because this Toni Storm character, the backwards hat Toni Storm character, she can be very, when she is babyface, like white meat babyface, and can be slightly generic. I will admit that. Her thing was always how good in the ring she was, in places like NXT, and then when she first got to AEW. And then she joined the Outcasts, and she became a heel, and a pretty good one at that, but she was still a fairly generic heel, right?
Yes.
I feel like the Outcasts just kind of were in general, even though they were people who had gotten fired from WWE or would let go, whatever it was, and they were trying to take over against, the AEW originals. They never really ran a match with that, for supremacy between the two. And it just kind of became, they run over the AEW originals, and Tony's got the title, and that's really it. So eventually, like you said, yes, the turn by the Outcasts on Toni Storm and her descent into madness and eventually becoming Timeless Toni, it really did bring out a side of character work we had never seen from her before.
Yeah.
So I would agree with you 100% that I hope she doesn't lose not the ability, but the opportunity to continue to do great character work, even if it's something completely different, just because she's gone back to this look. I don't want to lose the unbelievable character work of Toni Storm in any capacity.
I completely agree. And someone who I'm sure will completely disagree with both of us, even though we're not wrong. Welcome back, Skibbo.
You're just going to bring him in, no warning, not even have his camera on?
I mean, would he want, anything? Would he want there to be, fanfare?
I figured he'd join in when he was good and ready.
Well, that's the fun thing. He can't. I needed to bring him in.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Do I sound okay?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'm doing this on my phone, so I don't, not normally how I would join a stream. But, I just wanted to say, I don't appreciate those shots about me not working. I literally, listen, I don't want to take shots at anyone else, but I literally had surgery today, and I am here. Okay, where's Bronson Reed? Did he show up to work? No.
Where's Big E?
I was going to say, Bronson Reed at least tweeted out he was okay post-surgery, so hopefully his recovery goes well.
That's good. I didn't really tell anyone I was getting surgery today until just now. So.
And more importantly, we hope you're okay, Danny.
Breaking news
here nor there.
Breaking news on the pod: Danny got surgery today. Credit us.
Yeah, there we go. Always busting out news, but
we got the scoop.
I'm so glad you guys are talking about Toni Storm, because Toni Storm is fucking awesome. I don't think I'm gonna have any profound takes here or anything, but Toni Storm is so great, and literally immediately the women's division feels better, and that's hard to say when this match started at 9:52, and it's
I got so
Mariah
nervous.
just cut a great promo online about wanting to elevate the division and get them more time, and of course they get the least time. You got the main event, but you're only gonna get 8 fucking minutes. Here you go. So that was annoying, especially because the tag match was kind of a dud for me, at least most of it. So maybe that could have been cut down by 5 minutes. To me, this was a two. It was a good show, but it was a strong 2 points, 2 highlight show, which is the Toni return, and I want to see Ospreay and Claudio wrestle for 50 minutes one day. But we'll get to that. But Toni being back just feels so much more special. I think she does what Mercedes wants to do for the division, I think Toni does that as well and does it a little bit better. And you know, I'm just thrilled. Like I'm a timeless guy, but I was always the Toni Storm guy, so I'll ride this out. I'm hoping we get a three faces of Toni sort of thing. So that way, this is not the end of that. We can get regular Toni Storm, timeless Toni Storm, and I guess Outcast Toni Storm would be the third one. But
I thought the third one would be pie in the face Toni Storm.
that feels more akin to something Timeless would do. But you know,
Yeah.
well, we'll see what happens. But it is just great to see her back. And it's like so good, but so bad because everything surrounding it was like I said, a main event that deserved more time.
Yeah.
I like that Thunder Rosa was there because that's an interesting wrinkle in this.
I did too.
Very nice touch with the signs. That was funny. Like, coming off of the Rio, because Mariah's the bad guy who's like kind of right in certain ways. She's like that sign that said women's wrestling is back or whatever. She's like, no, it's not. It's like, yeah, she's right because they're getting the one match per show still.
Yeah.
Where was Chris Statlander on this show? She hasn't been on since she had match of the night at Full Gear. Where's Willow? Like, where are your top women on the show?
The Willow thing is the most baffling because she made a grand return at the pay-per-view helping Orange, and then I don't think we've seen her since.
She's got to have been on Collision or something because she's in that like little tournament to get to the New Japan AEW CMLL show in January. So I think she's been on Collision. I think the stuff with Thunder Rosa and Mariah getting into it have been on Collision, and I know Deonna Purrazzo has been. Who's she teaming up with, James?
Taya Valkyrie.
Yeah. You're upset about that? They're two of your favorites.
I love that they're together. I just wish it wasn't on a show for the sickos. I would love to see them on Wednesday nights, and I would love to see her win.
They've been doing good work over there.
Exactly.
That being said, you were absolutely right. You know what? Checking us, the match started at 8:55 his time, which would be 10:55 here on the East Coast, and I think the show went off air at 10:08. So the whole thing got 13 minutes tops, which means I think the match was probably about 10 to 12. So it was far too short for the main event. Way too much stuff ran over throughout this show. And they should have just gave them all the way to like 10:10, 10:15. Like 10:15 probably, because an extra 2 minutes probably would have meant nothing. I thought, honestly, I saw they were starting, and I looked at the clock when I saw it, and it was 10:58. And they had been going for a minute or two. And I was like, they're going to give them the 10:30 for Winter is Coming? I really thought they might.
They did tell us that they had the overrun, which means nothing because they tell us that even when they don't go over. Yeah. But I was expecting the overrun, and we've seen the worst part about it is that I think we've seen that the ratings for the overruns are not great in general. I don't know why they would do this to them. Like, I know they're in a weird position where, okay, this is the biggest thing on the night. You want to end with it. Close your show at 10:02 then. As someone who likes the overrun, as someone who likes when things go over, if it's not working for you, be smarter about it. Don't hurt your talent in that position.
Yeah, so, they should know by now how to not do an overrun, especially because the first few years they weren't doing a fucking overrun.
Yeah, so, it's not. That's the worst part about it. It's not something that they've never known how to do, or they've never known how to not handle. This is very clearly something they're capable of doing.
I enjoy the fact they're trying to make that a thing where, like, hey, we'll go as long as we want, but having it just happen every once in a while instead of every week makes the overrun feel way cooler. Like, now I'm just expecting it. And part of it is I am streaming, so it's probably already ending later than 10 o'clock as it is. But, you know, if we only get it once every 2 or 3 months, we're like, oh, sweet, we're an overrun. We haven't had this in a while. Something crazy is going to happen. You know, it makes them feel special because when you only have overruns when something special happens, I guarantee you those ratings are going to go up for them.
No, I agree with you. Going back to Danny's point, and I'm glad that it was hard because we didn't actually go over the match, but really cool to see Thunder Rosa getting reintegrated into stuff. I feel
At
like
least here on Dynamite.
yeah, I feel she's been in like this weird like nexus of not doing anything important since she's returned. Like she had the great feud against Deonna Purrazzo, but again, nothing of note, nothing of like I should say nothing of importance.
Yeah, it's all mid card.
Yeah, and against Toni, someone who she was supposed to have dropped the title to in the first place. Son of a bitch. Someone she was supposed to have feuded with after having teamed with, and there's never really been any real resolution with that. I like the fact that as Thunder was gearing up to go after Mariah, Toni is once again coming in, and they're gonna at least be in each other's nebula. Yeah.
Thunderstorm reunion.
Not since Y2AJ has there been a team that was just so perfectly named together. What could go wrong? But yeah, I loved, despite how quick everything felt, I think every woman played their part, from Mariah to Mina to Thunder to, of course, Toni. So,
and whoever gave Thunder that WTF sign to hold when Toni came back.
Yeah, perfect. Her facial expressions for it were perfect too.
Yep. I look forward to using that GIF in the future.
Yep.
Honestly, one of those two women should probably beat Mercedes. Like, if you didn't do stat, it should be like one of them. Give it to Thunder Rosa. Like,
personally, I'd go the other way. I don't think Toni needs to win the women's title again. Although it's weird because it's very clear that's the end of the Mariah story. So yeah, I guess you are right. I guess it should be Thunder.
Toni needs to beat Mariah. It doesn't have to be for the title, if that makes sense. Because if they're maybe lining up a triple threat here where Thunder wins the title and then Mariah and Toni just square off at a later date to finish the feud, that also works too, just to get the title out of the picture.
I agree.
I see what you're saying, Danny. Because if it's honestly, if you're not going to start to cut you off, if you're not going to get the surprise win with Anna Jay next week, then yeah, I'd like to see it on somebody who's been around for a while and is a former AEW Women's Champion, and somebody like Toni or Rosa definitely fits that bill.
Yeah, and just if it's Thunder, give her another shot at a title run. The first one ended, unfortunately. Turns out everyone was pretty harsh on her about it when we shouldn't have been.
Not us. We loved her.
But, the general us, like the fan base as a whole, I'll say, of course we're innocent, but, give her one, be like, yeah, here you go. Let her have some good matches with people for a little bit. Or if you go the other way with Toni, it's better for regular Toni to be that workhorse champion than timeless Toni, so that works too. But I would, Toni has to beat May. That's just the way it has to be, I believe, anyway.
Yeah.
So you can go that way and then, see what happens. But I just want, if Toni and Mercedes cross paths, I want Toni to win because she is like the Moxley of the women's division, multiple time, except better, more creative with her ideas than he is with his. But fuck it. I'm glad we have someone that's a multiple time champion. I'm cool with that. Like, it's been long enough. We should have more multiple time champions.
I agree with that. It's hard when she's already the most winning champion too, to just see that continue. Like, she's no John Cena, you don't want to see.
I agree she's no John Cena because she knows how to evolve and change as a character.
Excuse me, I seem to remember the Doctor of Thugonomics, the Marine, and
then the Marine for the rest of the time.
I mean, he wasn't really a Marine in the end.
He was never really a Marine. I hope you know.
I saw it in a movie, Danny. Like, come on.
I can't believe you watched that movie.
Of course I did. I got $100 because of that movie. John himself paid me because of that movie.
Oof. Is that? I bet that's what The Rock does with his movies. but no, you're right. Like, she's she's no John Cena. She's actually funny, but
Okay.
that's
It's like this
it's
guy's
neither
never
here
seen
nor-
Deke Stokes. Just crazy.
I'm
But-
sorry, I'm referring to John Cena, the wrestling character, not the actor. He's a funny actor.
Fair enough. But what was the last point I was going to ask you, Danny? So are you confident that Toni is going to be able to let her personality shine through with her old gimmick, similar to how she was able to with Timeless, or do you think she's going to have a harder time connecting?
I feel like there's no. First of all, I think by that reaction from the crowd, it doesn't matter. You could see that she was like taken aback by it.
Yeah, she
but-
looked emotional.
Yeah, especially towards the end of the show there.
Yeah, but I 100% trust Toni. One, she's creative, she's witty, she's funny. Sorry, that wasn't one. That was three things. But the other thing about it is that the first time, what chance did she have to show off personality? She never did. It was just like, here's Toni Storm. Here, she's in a team with Thunder Rosa. She loses the title match. It was AEW Women's Division booking. It wasn't good. Nothing gave her a chance to show personality. The Outcast was the first taste of that. And like Rev said earlier, it didn't go like perfectly, but there was hints of brilliance there. All you gotta do is let it out. First of all, okay, the return of Toni Storm means that we are due for a Toni Storm and Harley Cameron interaction.
Yes,
And that is just
thank
brilliant
you.
TV.
I didn't know how to segue into that, but yes, I'm so excited. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, that was more or less it. I trust Toni completely because one, she's creative, but two, you know who she bounces her ideas off of? Juice Robinson and RJ City. Like,
Yeah.
literally the two funniest people in the company. Like,
I was going to say that with the fact that she has been working with RJ City on the Timeless stuff, I'm sure she and RJ will continue to work on things, Danny, even past this Timeless stuff, especially because RJ's been working a lot with Mariah too, and I'm sure they want to see that angle through together.
yeah, just give RJ City the pen. Like, I don't know what to say. Like, this dude earns it. I'm not gonna lie, AEW is one of my absolute favorite things that this company produces. It's so good every time. It makes everybody better. I like everyone more once they've been on the show. It's perfect. Look, I loved Between Two Ferns, and I love this is better because it's wrestling.
What's this show? Hey, I've heard of Hey Ew, but I got to check out this other one.
It's pretty good. The Costco guys were on it. Legendary student future world champion. Big Boom AJ.
Bryan Danielson, Big Boom AJ, same screen. Wow, how did they not break the internet?
For the tag titles at All In.
All right, that's actually a question I wanted to bring up to you guys again.
Oh God.
I feel like we are once again in a position where I could advocate for tag titles for the women. I think there are more than enough women, and I think there are more than enough alliances or established relationships for the women that I think a women's tag title now is viable.
Oh yeah, 100%.
No, but not because what you just said isn't true. But because we can't say yes to that until Tony Khan gives more. Like, at the end of the day, we can't add another set of titles with one match per show. Like, that just can't work. It's never going to work. So I agree that there's enough talent. You can, on paper, do it. But I don't trust Tony specifically to do it unless he goes back to, unless somehow we get Kenny and RJ in charge of the women's division.
And to Danny's point too, he has a hard enough time. Excuse me. He has a hard enough time. Damn. Booking for two titles. Sorry about that. He has a hard enough time booking for the two titles as it is. And then the other like feuds that the women have, they're there, but they're so very rarely on Dynamite. They're usually stuck on Rampage or Collision just because they need to film time on Collision. So until he brings importance to some of these other until some of these other feuds, not even the titles, then I agree they have the talent to do the tag team titles, but he just doesn't fucking care. I mean, maybe the tag titles would make him care more because it's something shiny for them to play with. But yeah, he doesn't really care about the mid-feud women's titles that much. I know the Julia Hart. Why am I blanking on my girl's name?
Jamie Hayter.
Thank you. Yes, the Julia Hart Jamie Hayter thing looks compelling, but tell me that's not going to be a pre-show match at World's End.
Yeah, that makes me sad, but you're not
If
wrong.
even.
Yeah, right. So why me? Toni does.
No,
Couldn't remember her name.
You're Rev.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that's Nick. I'm Rev.
That was fast. He did that fast.
I have these ready. These ready. My only thought, because I don't disagree with you guys that Toni has not proven that he could handle this. Could you make an argument that maybe he's not booking the TBS title as well as possible because of Mercedes? I'm sure she does not have a lot of dates on her contract.
I feel like she's there most of the time.
She might have just a certain number of matches on her contract.
Yeah, exactly.
No, because I don't think, unlike Twitter, which is like the worst place in the world, sorry to anyone watching on Twitter, I don't think Mercedes is doing a bad job. I just think she's not the best, but like she's doing a really good job.
I'd agree.
Her matches have been good. Her promos have been meh.
I don't mind them. I don't think they've been like blow away. They're just fine. But like the Twitter brain is like, if it's not the best, it sucks, and everyone goes to the extremes, and no one's ever like, yeah, that was good. Be like, oh yeah, that was the slight mid instead, which has a negative connotation. When it's like, no, it was just fine. Like she gets heat, and then she backs it up in the ring. Like some of the matches have been misses. Like that's okay.
Yeah.
But like it feels like a bigger deal than if it was just. Actually, we've really had no bad TBS champions, so it's like, but we did hit that problem with Jade where it was just nothing, and it was the same thing over and over again, with no signs of progression. Not on Jade as a performer, just in terms of that going anywhere, and then it just abruptly ended because she was leaving.
So we've had Jade, we've had Stat, we've had Julia, we've had Willow, and we've had Mercedes.
Yeah, no bad champs.
Yeah, no. I agree with you. In my opinion, no.
Like, it's, I guess technically, like if you're gonna say who was the best, it has to be between Jade, Mercedes, and Stat, because of just the amount of matches they all had with the champ. Whereas Willow was a transitional, and Julia was pretty short. But like, it was still all good because Julia was like,
I thought she was a strong
of her momentum, reaching a certain height, and then Willow was just like this beloved babyface finally winning a title, which is good. Which they can still do. Like Willow's the only other person that can dethrone Mariah in my eyes, but that's a whole nother can of worms. I don't want to like open that up right now because I'm already drawn this out a long time, but this is what you get for inviting me, James.
I don't feel bad about it. I missed you.
I missed you too. It's crazy. I have not like been on a pod with you since like Juan Soto was a Yankee. Like it's crazy.
I don't miss you. I hope you're doing well. I hope you recover quickly. I don't miss you.
I hope you got the good painkillers.
I did. So like when I abruptly leave at a random point, it's because they're overwhelming me, and I need to sleep.
All right. Well,
that's going to be me in like 3 weeks, by the way.
Oh God, everyone's getting surgeries here on the pod. Well, Danny takes a breath. I do want to get into the comments because it has had a lot of things to say about Toni Storm. So
wait, can I say I missed you? And other commenters of the regular nature. All right, sorry, Rev. Go ahead.
No, I'm sure they appreciate it. First thing he said, the timeless press conferences will be missed. They were priceless, but we will get the old Toni and the booty shorts back. Bonk. But the timeless press conferences they're basically their own show, and they were great. So those are going to be missed by a lot. And then he also talked about Collision. He said if they made Collision all women's wrestling, I might watch it every week. And while half a joke, I do believe there was talk about making one of the shows strictly for the women. It might have been Rampage before. I think they eventually.
I don't think that'll ever be a good idea because unfortunately, it's just not going to draw the way it should. And I don't want the women to be deemed a failure because there are shitty men in every audience in the world.
Yeah.
James is right. I would still watch the shit out of it, though.
I would too. I would love to. I would love to. But I think it puts an unfair pressure on them.
Yeah.
And it's also, I don't, God forbid I sound woke on the internet, but like, it feels like a fine here sort of gesture instead of like, why just book them more on the regular show?
Exactly.
Yeah, and then it just comes off as like you just want to book men's wrestling, so you don't want that shit on your show.
Yeah.
No, part of me almost feels like I would love to see an Evolution type pay-per-view out of AEW, but at the same time, it would almost feel like you're just throwing them a bone to shut them up and shut us up too. So
yeah,
you could do like a TV, like a TV special, like almost like what WWE is doing with Saturday Night's Main Event. Just do like a quarterly TV special or something. I think that would be a good gesture without sounding like you're not pawning it off on someone and it's still an attraction. So yeah, like I don't know, that was just spitballing, but it's a good idea from it, even though he's kind of joking.
Yeah, what we need is all the men to get stuck in a snowstorm somewhere, and only the women make it to the show, and then Toni has to rewrite the whole thing at the last second, and they just go out there and kill it for 2 hours.
All the men get stuck in Saudi Arabia, and the women have to go hard.
Yeah, they could all get stuck at the World Cup in 10 years or whatever. It's gonna be.
And like when it happened on SmackDown with NXT. And Triple H was just in the back, just in the ring saying, "We are NXT." You just have RJ City being like, "We are women." And I think it would be great.
Lord knows he's traveling with them and not the rest of the men.
I'm sorry. RJ City has the best job. Like,
yeah, no, he does. He does. And I'm always so tempted to be like, man, why aren't they featuring him more? But I don't think you should because, like, then you could oversaturate him. He's exactly in the spot he should be in.
Yeah, he does the AEW. He occasionally does a backstage interview, but not really. He does a good job on the panels. He does the panels on the pre-show. And he does some of the other shows with Renee, like the dinner and a match or whatever. Yeah, stuff like that and other YouTube stuff. So he does a great job. I'm sure he also helps with a lot of the writing and the storyline and stuff. So great hire by Tony Khan there, and give him more stuff, but backstage. I think he's got a perfect amount of on-screen stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. We've talked about Toni Storm for a while now, and she just came back. So I'm sure we'll have plenty of time to talk about her in the future, but we do have to get on to the rest of the show.
We talked so much about her. We talked so much about her, and all she did was walk out, and that shows how awesome she is.
She walked out.
How much we missed her
in a different shirt, and we talked about her for 35 minutes.
Her hat and her shorts were different too.
I know, but I do want to get to something, James, that you were talking about earlier, being very excited about, which was our second vignette for Bandito. So after last week, we had the sheriff being very concerned about him returning to town and putting up the wanted posters. And this week, he actually did return to this town we were shown as he comes in on horseback, leading most of the townspeople to take shelter indoors. Over 4 men outside remain to face him, with one of them telling Bandito that he's wanted in that town and he shouldn't make this harder on himself and just give up peacefully. So Bandito hops off his horse and he puts his hands up after dramatically whipping his poncho off, and a couple of guys come over to restrain him as he puts his hands up. But when the third guy comes over, he springs into action and he takes all of them out, just doing lucha libre stuff in the middle of the town square. We then get a shot of him back on his horse, riding back out of town. So, James, these are awesome. They are very well shot. They just look cool, and I mean, I liked Bandito beforehand, but this is now somebody I know who's good in the ring, and they're giving him some character, and he looks great in these.
For one, I love Bandito, and I'm just happy that he's back and he's healthy. So big win, big check right there. Two, the only other, I'm sure there might have been one or two more. The only other instances that I could remember somebody getting like hype vignettes like this was Wardlow before he first debuted, when they were going to give him like that like vigilante gimmick where he beat up those guys on like a rooftop. It was either a rooftop or a parking lot, and like and that's the only other instance where I can remember AEW doing a video like this.
The only one I can think of is like the team of Joey Janela
and Sonny Kiss. Yeah.
Those back in the early days. And funny enough, recently we've gotten other good vignettes for Julia Hart. So
all right, I don't know. My bad on Julia too. That I just kind of credited more towards the House of Black stuff always being kind of cinematic, but you are right. It still counts. Like that absolutely still counts.
It's just very interesting to me that we're getting two very good sets of vignettes at the same time for a company that hasn't really done them in a long while, at least in this style.
I think it's a good example of showing me that somebody is important versus, yo, it's Bandito. Look at this important guy that you guys are supposed to like. And I think it's a world of difference.
Yeah, I think that's a problem for me in AEW too. It's a lot of tell don't show. Yeah. Like I love Shivani, but he yells "what a moment" far too much for my liking. It's something Michael Cole used to do when Vince was always in his ear, and Shivani does it now, and it's just like, I know, Shivani, this is a pretty big deal. I get it, but sometimes I just show don't tell. Oh yeah, Ruby Soho had some good ones. I forgot about that.
Yeah, I miss Ruby too. I hope she gets a push when she comes back.
Yeah. No, she had to have a kid.
I know. Kids, Swerve was right, man. Kids ruin everything.
It's crazy too, because like the Ruby Parker baby happened like at such a perfect time in the storyline on TV. And it like my only hope is that it does reset her, because otherwise she was like, realistically, she was kind of floundering prior to that.
Absolutely. But like the story was at least going to lead to her getting a win over Saraya, which like still means something. And then who knows? But yeah, look, maybe she should have just won that title at the first Grand Slam, but whatever.
Yeah.
Live and learn. But she's constantly screwed over, because she also should have been like a Raw Women's Champion back in like 2018, 2019, but that's when Ronda Rousey was around. So.
Yes. And she's an evergreen talent to the fans. They are always going to show appreciation for her. Like she might not be getting the
good.
Yeah. So gotta love it, and hopefully they continue to show up for her when she comes back.
Yeah, I'm excited for her return. I'm obviously excited for this Bandito return with these vignettes. We'll see how all of that ends up playing out once he comes back. Yes,
I joked about it before, but I do think it's something we should talk about, because we don't really do the new show anymore. Like, what are our thoughts on the Lucha Bros stuff? And granted, like, feels kind of racist that I just brought them up in terms of Bandito, but there has been a lot of anti-Lucha, what's the word I'm looking for?
Sentiment?
Yes, thank you. There has been a lot of anti-Lucha sentiment. And again, I don't think you could have planned this better in terms of having these Bandito vignettes happening. Oh, a little bit of reverb there.
Yeah, Dan, I'm just muting for a second while you figure stuff out. But to be honest with you, James, I haven't read enough on all of that to comments. So I did see a headline that Ray FedEx had deleted some tweets calling AEW inhumane. Yeah, I truly don't have enough to entertain a full conversation. Gotcha. I do apologize.
Danny, any thoughts?
How do I work? Like, it's tough. Like, look, you shouldn't add time onto someone's contract because of injury. That is bad. but Conan's like a dumbass.
Absolutely.
That
Like-
statement's evergreen.
But it's just so like, okay, my thing is, I empathize with Phoenix, but I hate the way the other side of this is just using this as they don't care about Phoenix. They're just using it as an excuse to dunk on AEW.
Yeah.
And it's like most people agree that it's bad, but like I don't take anyone seriously because because you're just using it for the wrong reasons. You don't care about Phoenix and like,
Yeah.
But it's cool that they'll pretend to care about him when he eventually comes in. Like, all this does is guarantee the Lucha Bros get hype before they inevitably do nothing over there and then feud into that territory that seems to happen to every luchador that goes over there. But you know, you guys, they don't care about the Lucha Bros, and I'm sick of pretending that they do, even if I agree with them that it's bad that he's adding injury time.
So can I comment on that? I don't really have an issue with him adding the injury time as much as I have the issue with the fact that he's not going to be using him during that time.
Well, yeah, that makes it even worse.
Like, if you want to add the year and then have that guy working for the year, you know what? That's unfortunately just business, especially when you have the guy loudly mouthing off, or at least his brother loudly mouthing off that, oh yeah, we're going to WWE at some point. Like, I get that, but to just bench him, I had these same issues when Brody Lee was being held by WWE.
Yeah, that's a good comparison.
Yeah, it's valid because it's like, it would be like if I get it because like he's under contract, but like, you know, it's like if like the Yankees knew Juan Soto was leaving at the end of the year and then they decided to bench him, you know, it'd be wild. One, because they would have never made it to the World Series, but two, because, you know, that's a waste of everyone's time and money.
So the Yankees did something right. They did the right thing there.
By playing Juan Soto, yes, they made the very tough choice of starting one of the best hitters of our generation. But yeah, like it's like I get it. It's weird because it's one where I'm like, I try to like not feel bad for people who make six figures and up.
Yeah.
You know, that's like a general rule of thumb. You know, like if you're a healthcare
That's fair.
CEO, I don't give a fuck about you. You know, but like, you know, sorry, someone had to make that reference on here, and it had to be me. But you know, I'm in the mindset of like I'm usually not pro owner like on sports. Like I hate when people complain about like complaining about like the Juan Soto deal. Sorry, James. Just to use it as an example. Why would I give a fuck if this dude is overpaid? It is not my money. I'd rather the money go to the people doing the thing I'm enjoying to see than the owner. I don't give a fuck how much money the owner makes off of it. I want to see the people I'm enjoying watch and make that money if I had to pick.
Yeah.
But that's where my sympathy ends with them. So it's like, it's a tough situation. Like it's not a good look for AEW no matter what.
Yeah.
And like, honestly, I don't even think it's a great look for Phoenix, but like, it just is what it is. Like, it's not a good situation. I don't have the proper answer though, so like, I can only judge so much.
No, I'm kind of in the same boat. I feel for Phoenix, who wants to be able to go and do his own thing. I understand where AEW and Toni are coming from, because if you just start letting people out of contracts, you're going to lose a lot of guys who are going to get a very tantalizing deal from the other side. I think the one thing though that everybody can agree on, if he's there, use him.
Yeah.
Even if you're having him lose on a weekly basis, use him.
The only thing that I don't like is the whole medical thing he's talking about.
Yeah.
Because I think it's not well documented, but I think we can say that the two companies handle this differently. And I guess everyone can have their preference. But like, you know, I just had, as someone who just had surgery like 12 hours ago. You know, I got surgery with my trusted doctor, and not a doctor that my job was going to provide for me, because I don't trust their doctors. Their doctors, like your job's doctors, don't have your best interest in mind. Like that's, I'm sorry, like get your own doctor and your company pays for it. That's the way I'd prefer it. I'd rather do that. So it's like that's usually the AEW way, is you can see whoever you want and the company will pay for it. Like so, like and but to get it, it's confusing. It's not an easy process. But like that's the only part where I'm like, but that's how this company does it.
Yeah.
It's not like their doctors do it and they ignored you. That'd be a different bad situation. But like to me, like that's the only one where I'm like, I like that. And again, that's tough because we don't know the exact details of it. But
Yeah,
you know,
I
maybe
think that's something Punk mentioned too when he was leaving AEW. Like when he got hurt, there is that lack of structure in terms of outside of Doc Samson, in terms of like a medical team to like help you find surgeons and find doctors and stuff like that for your particular injury. You're kind of just not expected to find it, but at this point, I think they kind of figure everyone already has their own, since most of them have been doing it for a very long time. But yeah, it's a difficult situation just because the companies are run so different. I mean, AEW is almost run like a giant independent, and WWE has been a massive company, since the 60s or whatever the hell it's been. So
well, and that's a good point, because they are truly like independent contractors where they can go work for other places.
Yeah.
Like I don't know, like they took care of Eddie Kingston, and he didn't even get injured there.
Yeah.
So like, but I don't know, like, do you
They
guys
took care of
your own-
Bandito. Bandito was talking about it too, that he was thanking AEW in tweets for all they helped him with his surgery and all of his follow-up stuff. So it's so weird. But I cut you off. I apologize.
Oh no, it's just my point wasn't going to be good. It was going to be more joking. But let me ask, James, do you make your own doctor's appointments?
Yes, when I don't have my mom or my dad do it for me as an adult.
Rev, do you make your own doctor's appointments?
when I have a doctor's appointment, yeah, for the most part.
You do strike me as someone who doesn't go to the doctors very often.
Yeah, just when I need contacts.
Yeah.
So can I like weird brag that like I had my pre-op check last Thursday for the surgery, and I was dreading it a little bit because I was not expecting great results from, like, let's just say I'm not a great eater. But I am shockingly healthy. Like, everything is in the green. All right, I changed it, okay? Now it's Monday the 13th, you know it. It's not the same.
He remembers, though. That was really funny.
If I would have had it, that would have been in 2 days. Which is crazy to think about. But
we could have been surgery brothers.
I kind of regret moving it because now I'm definitely 100% going to be spending my birthday in a sling, and that's going to suck. But
wait, when's your birthday again?
February 27th.
Oh, so you're going to be in a sling for? Oh, that's not that long, but okay, yeah.
For what? I'm going to be in my sling for what?
Like a month and a half.
Yeah, 6 weeks is what they told me. Okay. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to shower for those 6 weeks, so it's going to be interesting.
You probably will be able to. It's going to be a little difficult, but you'll be able to.
I got one of those shower chairs for old people because of my foot. Mine's a foot injury.
Yeah,
so that's going to be fun.
So. Tangent, but we'll get there later.
James, this thing has been up for 5 minutes already.
I came back to the pod. We're going to go on tangents.
Yeah, I don't even remember where I was going with it. What started me talking about it?
You were bragging about
your health. You were asking about the diet. Oh yeah, I am like shockingly healthy to the point that I want to see how far I could push this shit, because I already don't really take care of myself all that well. And again, shockingly healthy. Can you imagine if I did take care of myself? I'd be like a star athlete or a model or something.
Ron Swanson, chill. Okay? Chill.
All right, fine. No more
Okay, so what?
tangent.
Okay, wait, because I don't have much time left. Because I'm dying, but like,
I was gonna say in this episode, I hope.
but I just want to say, like, to push us, like, the Will Ospreay Claudio match was so fucking fun, and like, look, I don't like Will being in the C2. I'm not gonna lie. I wish he was out for like a month after the Full Gear match, but I digress. We got a Claudio Will match, and we're gonna get a Darby Will match next week. So like, this shit was so like. My favorite thing about this C2 is so far Claudio being booked like the
Yep.
big boss of it, because I think Claudio is so good, which is like another hot
Hot
take.
take.
Like, yeah, you know who agrees with me? Brian Danielson, but but I just love seeing him booked strongly, and I want him to have like. I just want like a 25-minute Claudio pay-per-view match, like so badly.
Yeah.
Like should be in the conversation for like best worker more than he is, because
agree.
he's so subdued and muted, because he's fine with being a background player,
Yeah.
and that's good. Like, not like, I know wrestlers have that, oh, if you don't want to be the champion, you shouldn't be here mentality, bro. Grow the fuck up. Okay, this is the same thing. Like, oh, if you don't want to be rich, you shouldn't be working. But like, bro, it's not. Look, people say these sorts of things from a plateau, and their vision is askew. they just they just don't seem to realize that that's not the case for everybody. And Claudio's cool with that, but like, just give him a 25-minute pay-per-view match.
I think
with
he's a
anyone.
I think he's a great contender to win this tournament. I think he's a great contender to be that champion.
I think he at minimum makes the semis. At minimum,
Yo,
the way he's been
just
booked so
hold on,
far.
James, because you're about to make a good point. I know it, but like, imagine Claudio beating Okada, or just imagine Claudio wrestling Okada so well that he brings the strong style back out of him,
Yep.
and he makes Okada less lazy. Just imagine.
This has been a very interestingly booked tournament in general. I agree with you 1,000%. I love that Claudio feels like such a big deal. Similar to, I am blown away by the booking that Fletcher has.
Yeah, 3-0 so far. Including beating Okada. Sorry, he beat Okada since we brought him up.
It is without a doubt. What was that?
I just did light work to him beating Okada.
Kicked him right in the
second
dick.
loss in AEW. The first one being Brian Danielson.
You didn't lose to Billy Gunn?
I'm gonna say no.
No. Oh, okay. Sorry. I heard. Listen, I heard. Do you guys follow Ibu?
Yes, I do. Yeah, I do.
Dude went off on one yesterday, and he was talking about all the people with like political power and shit in the companies.
I saw that. It was like Sammy's on that list. It was crazy.
No, he went into detail about it, and the Sammy one is crazy because it's like, but like we saw like, because did we not? Okay, sorry, mini tangent before I get to the point about it. We saw that it was so clear it was going to be a triple threat between Drew, Sammy, and Seth. They planted the seeds for that, and then Sammy used the little bit of sway he had from his bloodline tenure to be like, I'm not taking that pin. Like, put me in another match. And you know what? In this one case, I agree, because I think Sammy should have won that match.
Yep.
But they wanted to do the Drew thing and the cash in, and that was great for the character of Drew. So everything worked out, except for everyone like who loved Chad Gable, like me and everyone else.
Yeah.
But like, it's a look. I'm not calling anyone Hogan because they have power. Charlotte is an obvious one. Literally, Becky's on that list, and you know what he said? He said she used her power to help other people. That was it. Like, it's like, yeah, okay. So like everything kind of makes sense there. But then he talked about some of the AEW ones, and it was like Billy Gunn, who was supposed to job to Okada and was like, I'm not doing that. And it's so funny. It's like, who the fuck is this guy, bro? He's not as jacked as I am.
We got there.
I'm not jobbing to him. Like, I shouldn't have even lost to Jay White. What's wrong with you guys? It's just fun because, like, you can't get mad at Billy Gunn in the year 2024. I'm sorry.
No, yeah. Billy Gunn and Jeff Jarrett are like the patron saints of like second chances and forgiveness.
Yeah, well, legit. And like, I don't care. Like, especially because it's lazy Okada. So like, who cares? Yeah, fuck it. I'm sorry. It was just so funny to me to hear the Okada one because I'm like, that's so funny, and it just kind of makes sense. Like,
I gotta check out those threads because I saw the lists. I didn't see any of the like the in-depth. Look at it.
So I don't want to promote another like show. We'll call it a show because it's not a podcast because we're the only wrestling podcast. But it was like a show he was on with a couple other people, and so he kept throughout the show telling the stories, which is the only reason I watched because I wanted to hear like the more in depth. It was like, like Charlotte's match with Rhea went like 10 minutes over time.
I heard about that one.
Like stuff like that. Like obviously Roman, and then it was like Seth, who I don't even know if he was on the list, but he has power, but like doesn't really use it that often. He's more of like a whatever you say boss kind of guy, but he's like protective of certain things. Like he doesn't want to face Roman because he doesn't want to like lay down for Roman.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't think the story is right or whatever. And I kind of agree with them. I like that Seth always has Roman's number. So it's like interesting tidbits, but it's not like these people are like, no, I'm not doing this and that's that, unless they're
That doesn't work for me, like, brother.
It's just funny to think about, but sorry.
It sounds
because of the Okada stuff.
Yeah.
Back to the
it just sounds like people trying to protect what they think their character should be, and some people have a little more sway in doing that than others. Makes sense, but
and then we have
the
people
Billy
who
Gunn one's
just
pretty
do it for good. Or KO's another one, where he's like, yeah, whatever, like just let me do what I want with what you want me to do. Like that's his, and that's why everyone loves Kevin Owens. Well,
yeah.
And there was someone
he gives
else.
off that energy. He gives off.
Yeah.
Or you look at Brian, who uses his political power to put everybody over to the point where we have to drag him kicking and screaming to quote somebody on the pod over on Twitter in order to get him to actually put people, to actually win stuff.
Yeah, it really is like it's crazy, and he doesn't want the power. That's the crazy. He always gets it, but he doesn't want it.
I would bet a shiny dollar that Brian would put over Big AJ.
Oh my god! Yeah.
If he could roll the Rizzler up into like how he likes doing like that pretzel roll. Yeah. If he could do that to the Rizzler, he'd be like, as long as I could do that, the kid could pin me afterwards. It's fine.
And then give it 5 booms because it's a delicious pretzel.
Oh man, it's so great how I only know about these people because of wrestling.
I only like half know about. I've been actively avoiding them.
There's a lot of lore. There's a lot of lore.
You stay out of it. Look, the best way to enjoy this kind of thing is to only watch it through the medium that it is presented to you. And in our case, that is wrestling. Don't look at anything else. I'm sure it's all fine. People love it, clearly. But it's not for us. So we stay away. And when it's here, it's great. And we get in on the joke. He responded to my fucking shit on Twitter on the podcast page. Like, granted that's not that hard. He responds to a lot of people, but like, it's just a fun joke we're all in on, and it's just great.
I gotta tell you,
there's no downside.
I gotta tell you, I went to my non-wrestling friends and I showed them that he responded to us on Twitter, and they were freaking out. They were so excited for us. What was that, Ref?
I said I missed that happened. I didn't even know we were tweeting at them. Blue Sky.
I'm just saying his response didn't get as many likes as my tweet, but no big deal.
Hey, do you guys want to talk about Dynamite?
I mean, I guess I've missed this. I've missed this.
So do I. But you could always call Danny.
It's not the same.
It's not the same
content. Listen, look. again, not to talk about the other show I watched last night, but it was a Raw review, and they spent literally 7 minutes talking about Raw in a 2-hour stream,
That's
and it was
crazy.
great.
Fair
Okay,
enough.
so I don't
Wait, they
wanna
did
hear
a
that.
they did a Raw review on Tuesday at night. That's bold.
I mean,
They might have done it
look,
on
I
Monday. He just
personally
watched it on Tuesday.
look. We need both. No, it was live. It was live
Yeah.
last night. But like it's because I think people want to talk about this stuff the next day too. Because sometimes people want to just go to sleep and then talk about it the next day.
That's crazy.
So
That's crazy.
but
James, some
okay,
people actually
sorry, but
sleep just because we don't.
But
This
I
is a
liked
3-hour
how
show.
to get to back to the match. I loved how it started so quickly with Ospreay just going right after Claudio because that's such a
Yeah.
Claudio thing.
Yeah.
That's normally Claudio's the one to do that sort of thing, and will beat him to the punch. And like I said, I just personally wish I don't want Will to win this tournament,
Yeah.
but we can't keep beating Will. It's a tough spot. This is why I'd rather him be out of the tournament.
I agree.
But that's neither here nor there. The match was amazing, and that's what's most important in this tonight specifically. So that I want more of this. Give me this for 25 minutes.
We are getting these incredible matchups on free TV. We are getting Will Ospreay versus Claudio Castagnoli on free TV, and that's huge. Like if you're a wrestling fan, this is a match that you've probably fantasy booked. I had so much fun with it. I loved Ospreay's explosiveness the same way Danny did. That beyond just, that's something Claudio would have done. I appreciate, going back to our point, that Claudio's being booked as like this big boss of the tournament. Ospreay knows he's got to do whatever he can to wrap this up. He's like, this isn't a guy that he could tire out over time. Claudio's athleticism, his stamina is limitless. So for him to just try and surprise roll him up, I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. And we saw 2 examples tonight of fast, high-flying guys going against powerhouses. And we saw 2 very different matchups, in my opinion. And I think this was the better of the 2.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I think they needed to tell different stories.
For
so
sure.
I think that was a good thing. But
I'm not complaining. I'm not complaining. And I also think, and I don't like ragging on the guy because the internet does it enough. And quite frankly, he dunks on himself enough. But like, I think it speaks to the fact that Ospreay is a much more versatile wrestler at this point than Ricochet is.
Yeah.
Which is like crazy because Ricochet went to a school in Florida that teaches you how to wrestle. So like, how is he not evolved more? That makes no sense.
Yep. It is crazy. I think Will evolved in such a way that Ricochet didn't. And his match felt way more authentic than Ricochet's did. Like, there was, to me, personally, there was quite the bit of suspension of disbelief with Ricochet and Brody's match.
Yeah.
And we'll get into that. And I don't want to harp on the guy, but this match, I think, delivered in so many ways. Will looked great. Claudio looked great. And to me, it also told a story, especially with the post-match stuff, too. So, strong showing from both guys. And again, Will, in my opinion, survived Claudio. He didn't beat Claudio. He survived Claudio. He rolled him up and got that win.
Yeah, if you even listen to Shivani at the end of the match, he said that was snatching victory from the jaws of defeat because Will was done. And he was going to get hit with that neutralizer. And he just happened to be able to shift his weight and be able to get that jackknife cover for the win. So, and Claudio still looks good and, like a menace by hitting the neutralizer after the match. And then you set up next week with Darby coming down while still continuing the feud with the Death Riders, as Darby's going to be facing Ospreay next week, which is going to be a lot of fun.
I have one complaint, though, but it's not about the match itself, but just something going on with this tournament. It is very frustrating to me that Claudio is on match 3 wrestling a guy on match 2.
Yeah, that was interesting. I'm not sure why they did that. I did kind of like it. They did bring it up, and it was like, oh, Ospreay has the advantage. He's been off for a little while longer than Claudio. And I got to imagine that's just due with Ospreay's travel schedule, because I don't think he lives in the States.
It's also that Claudio, I think, wrestled 3 of his matches. Like, he wrestled, I think, on Collision or Rampage. And I think they're on a tighter schedule this year than they were last year. I think last year's was spread out a little bit longer.
Yeah, they got to get this done by the end of the month because the semifinals and the finals are at World's End.
But, like, Fletcher Okada happened with no fanfare.
Yeah, on Collision.
And I'm not even mad that it happened on Collision, because big matches need to happen on Collision.
That's true,
but I didn't know to expect it.
I also didn't know Fletcher Okada. Yeah, I didn't know it was happening, and then I didn't know Fletcher beat him until tonight when they did the highlight package of everything.
I saw it on Reddit when it happened. I'm like, he just wrestled on fucking Wednesday. Like, what are they wrestling tonight? I couldn't grasp what was happening, and I think it speaks to how this tournament is being handled as opposed to last year. And I love round robins. I love tournaments like this. It's just, I don't know, man. It bothered me a little bit that it feels like important things are happening under the radar.
That's true. I guess they're just not doing a good enough job of hyping up the matches before they happen. At least I think when the matches are happening on Collision and they don't really tell us which ones are happening on Dynamite. Like, I know they flash the graphics in the corner at the end of the show of, I think, what's coming up on Rampage and then Collision. But we were all kind of distracted because Tony fucking Storm came back. Exactly. So I certainly wasn't looking at those graphics.
1000%.
Like, 1000%. Have Excalibur be telling me. Have it at the end of that graphics, not the graphics package, the video package, you had recapping everything that had happened in the tournament the last week. Like, it just a little weird. I agree with you the way they're doing it. I want to jump into the comments. Sorry, Danny, really quick. Just saying that Gold League should have been called Orange League, and as somebody in these colors, I would have very much liked Blue and Orange League. But then Cassidy should be put in Blue League and complain about it. I do really like that idea.
I laughed at that when I read that. Yeah, that was a good one.
And I know we haven't gotten to his match yet, but it's been saying this quite a few times tonight. Brody King is getting huge pops from the crowd, and Tony Khan isn't listening. He's losing and losing again. And I know it's the tournament. It's going to happen. Guys are going to have to lose, but Brody is very much over at the moment. I think we talked about it a bit last week.
It's coming. Too. It is coming.
Yeah.
It will happen in 2025.
People are just barking.
And look, I think Brody is without a doubt the most over of the 3 right now. Yeah. He's second over of all 4 of them. I think Julia's the most over. But all of them are over. Buddy is over in a weird way. Like, he's the least over of the 3. But
if he was in this tournament, that would change.
I completely agree.
Very surprising he wasn't in it.
I don't get it. And clearly they're allergic to putting Malachi in anything.
He was in the tournament last year, I thought.
No.
Am I crazy? I could have swore he was in the tourney.
No.
There's no way he's wrestling that many matches in a short amount of time.
Yeah. And losing that many matches in a short amount of time because he wasn't going to win it.
True.
Like, he didn't win it. So that means he would have had to lose a bunch. So, no, we would have remembered that.
Was he feuding with Jay White while White was in the tournament? Is that what it was? It was something like that. The Bang Bang Gang.
I can't imagine wasting time feuding with Jay White, but whatever. One thing or two things I wanted to say to, like, the effect kind of what James was touching on a moment or two ago. Like, 2 things with the C2 this year I've noticed. One, this year feels more like an obligation.
I agree.
Like, and then, like Rev was kind of saying with telling us what's coming, we should know what show each match is happening on before the tournament starts.
Yeah, there should be a schedule.
Just put on a schedule so that way we know. You spread it out a little more.
New Japan does it. New Japan does it with the G1.
Yeah. And you have more time for other stuff because you're spreading it out better and because people know because you're advertising it so much. Just look, put fucking AJ in charge of promotion, and he'll sort all this shit out for me. Like, what is the problem? But like the other thing I really wanted to note, because you brought up the G1, that's in the summer, right?
Yes.
Yeah, summer's the only time I think you can do this sort of thing.
It's so weird because like they've really put themselves in a corner, and I wanted to acknowledge this other tournament. I did not have on my bingo card for 2024 that I would care more about the Owen than the Continental Classic. And it's not just because Brian won the Owen. It's that it was just, I think, a better tournament.
There's also massive storylines going on in that tournament with Brian, with Hangman, even involving Jeff Jarrett of all people. I just feel like this is less storyline oriented and more, hey, we're going to get these super cool matches oriented, at least this year.
And I'm fine with that. I don't need every match to have a massive story behind it. Sometimes I'm okay with cool wrestler A fighting cool wrestler number 2. So
am I. I'm just saying I think last year had a few more sprinkled in there. With Eddie especially. Yeah. You know.
But it's just to go off the obligation thing, Danny, I don't know if you've heard, but or like when Rev and I talked about it in the past, AEW has found themselves in a very, very weird scheduling like stretch that they go from All In to All Out to Grand Slam to
what was it, Wrestle Dream?
Wrestle Dream. And it feels like there's no let up. And now I heard a cat.
So did I.
Yeah, Grayson just joined me.
Love that. Love the name. But they go full throttle for like 3 months. Then they have a break, and then they push hard again because of the tournament.
And winter is coming, and we have the holiday bash next year, and they usually do something good for Thanksgiving, and then you're at World's End. Next week for holiday bash next year.
It's just so much, and it feels like it's clear now that the Owen is always going to lead to a title shot for All In now, which is fine. Like that, I think it works.
I do, because I wanted to bring that up, and now that you mention it, the Owen becoming what it became this year has directly hurt the C2
Absolutely.
as a result. Because why should I care about the tournament for the made-up title than for the main title? Like, it just doesn't work as well. And, you know, it's like if they have the G1 in the summer and then, you know, had a tournament in the fall, winter, where you get a shot at the what is it, the DDT never open weight, the title that is the 24/7 title in that other promotion, DDT. Like, that's the equivalent. It's like
the Iron Strongman never weight. Yeah, that one.
Yeah,
or the title one itself.
Yeah, and like a ladder won it or something.
Yep.
And what's crazy is, to your point, New Japan themselves do have that situation where they have the G1, and then I think like a month or two later, they have the best of the Super Juniors, and then at another point they have the tag team tournament too. But first of all, those are very separate divisions. You're not going to see the juniors in the G1. The tag team guys are tag team guys who you're not going to see in the heavyweight division either. These are all like, why is Darby in this tournament when we know he's going for the world title? And why is Darby in this tournament when we know he's going to lose it and then go for the world title?
Yep.
It's just weird. It's just weird.
Why is Will in this tournament after we saw him die at full gear?
Yep. And I know this hurts because we're on the same page about how happy we are to see him wrestling. It's derailing Claudio's part in the story too with the Death Riders. Like, I'm happy he's in the tournament because fuck yeah, Claudio's awesome. But like, this is a guy who should be destroying people alongside his trio's championship partners.
Oh yeah, he is the trios champion.
You wouldn't know because they haven't showed the belt since they won it. But yeah.
They can't
they
all
haven't-
be in that briefcase.
No, I was gonna say they haven't showed their belts since Moxley has won his, but
I 1,000% believe. I with every day I'm thinking it more and more. We're gonna get a new AEW World Title.
I hope not. It's so
I
good.
hope not too.
It's literally my favorite title in wrestling.
Yep.
Right now.
Yeah.
Currently.
Active.
Yeah. It's no
Yeah.
big gold, but like it's fucking. It's no winged eagle or big gold, but it's like right the next best thing. Like
Unpopular opinion. I do not give a shit that they're bringing out the Winged Eagle for Saturday. Could not care less.
it'll be
it's
cool
a nice
for one
thing.
off.
It's a nice
Yeah.
little.
I never cared about the belt. It was the belt before my first belt. My first belt was Big Eagle.
Mm.
Okay.
So it's like that's the belt that I have like nostalgia for.
And for me, it's still the big gold. It's still the world heavyweight.
Yeah.
I always like that title more. It's just.
WCW.
I hate what they
were
did
doing.
to it. I hate the guys like Swagger won it. Like I fucking.
Hindsight 2020. I completely agree with you. I hate that Swagger ever held that belt.
Yeah, it's sorry to single him out, but like,
Nah,
you know, not
nah,
really.
fuck him. Yeah, fuck him.
On the flip side, we got the Dolph cash in out of it, so a little give and take on that one.
From Swagger?
No,
He cashed
from
in on Del Rio.
from Del Rio. I just meant from that title, not for
Yeah.
not from Swagger.
Swagger was feuding with Del Rio.
Yes, I believe that was after their title match or after a match they had. But Del Rio had the title. Swagger fucked up his ankle. Dolph cashed in on that Raw after
And
WrestleMania.
still almost lost.
Yes, but that was his
Which is-
idea.
Yeah, no, it worked. It
Crazy.
was perfect. It was perfect.
Yes, absolutely.
Look, it's crazy that they were on the pulse of what was going on in the world at that time. The only time they're ever up to date on current culture is for Swagger to do a racist gimmick. But
Yeah.
you know, whatever. Like it was still at a time where we're like, yeah, they're heels, so like they're the bad guys. Of course they lose. But the problem was Del Rio was the face and he sucks. So like they both sucked. Who are you supposed to like?
You know that meme of like the superhero who's got to choose between the two red buttons?
Yeah.
And that's really a racist xenophobe or
Or
like
shitty.
an abusive like piece of like oh god.
Yeah, but you know what I think maybe this is an idea I just spitballing, but make the Owen like a one night thing. Make it like a special. Even if you want to make it a whole pay-per-view, since they don't care about having fewer pay-per-views anymore, take one of them out, replace it with the Owen, and just have it be one night. Because there's so many tournaments. Why are none of these tournaments ever one night? We have 25 tournaments in WWE. We have less than 25 tournaments in AEW, about 23. And none of them are one night. Do a one night tournament.
I'm trying to do the math in my head. I think it'd be 7 matches for both men's and women's. It's a 14 match tournament, right? Or 14 match pay per view.
Yeah, look, I shouldn't have brought this up because now it's going to make us all look dumb for trying to do math. But like,
That's why I keep my mouth shut. I know better.
like I just, because like the Owen
right.
was so perfect this year because you had Brian on the men's side, but honestly, fuck that. We had the Mariah May turn
Yeah,
on the women's
absolutely.
side.
Yep.
Like, that was amazing. Like, it's like it served its purpose, but like, just make one of them one night. But you can't do the round robin as a one night one. That's too
Yeah.
much.
No,
Like,
yeah.
you got to do the single bracket tournament.
Personally, I'm fine with the proximity of both of them. But one, I think you need to be selective about who's in the tournament. And two, I think you need to actually treat it like a big deal and not say it's a big deal. The fact that Okada lost the match and half the AEW audience might not have seen it is insanity. I just don't understand a thought process like that. So you need to be clearer and you need to be ahead of things. That's really where the majority of my issue is. I don't know. Like, we look at a guy like Mark Briscoe who won a singular match in the tournament last year, and you wonder why he's in the tournament now. And you can sort of put it together. He's earned his way back because of his Ring of Honor title run. But the tournament needs to matter, and the people in it need to not, the events of it need to not feel like afterthoughts. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, and even if you compare it to like the tournaments we're getting in WWE right now, which is a whole nother can of worms, but like the format there is so weird because you start in the tournament with triple threats before moving into singles matches, and it's like, how can you expect us to care about the triple threat parts of these when you have people that don't stand a chance? And like, look, I'm the, no one's going to go to bat for the women's division more than me, but like, you're really stretching these brackets out in a way where it's like, well, of course, like we're looking at like, of course we know Lyra's going to win her match on Raw. Of course we knew Dakota was going to win her match. The only person you gave a video package for, by the way, like not the best tactic, but like, and it's like, okay, Raquel's Liv's bodyguard, she's going to advance. And then the like last one's like fucking, God, I can't, you're not going to get me to care about a match with Natalia in it, but like,
hey, future Intercontinental title winner Natalia.
That's not happening, bro. Like, look, no one with enough brother power back there is gonna make that happen because all the people with brother. First of all, look, that title will be on Becky's waist by WrestleMania. Okay, I need you to know that because she's gonna get her fucking daughter on WrestleMania. That's because that's what she will use her power for. Okay, but like, there's a whole thing about whether we should have both those titles or should just be one. This is not the time for that. But because there's two of them, the bracket suffered greatly. Yeah. And then somehow people are still left out. Like, I know nobody likes Sonya Deville, but like, why is she in the tournament? That makes no sense. You know who used to get actual heat? Sonya Deville. Mm-hmm. Like, it just...
Well, it's because Matt hates her. What up, Dev?
What's going on, Dev? How you been, man?
Dev? But like, it's just... There's so many tournaments going on now, and it's like, it feels like we're being punished for wanting tournaments for so long.
Too much of a good thing.
I remember that we were having tournament fatigue with AEW like a year ago, or maybe like 2 years ago. And then I felt they were sort of course correcting. I don't have tournament fatigue with AEW as much as I just don't appreciate the handling of the tournament. And with WWE, it's a shit show in general.
Yeah,
at least tournament-wise. Tournament-wise.
Whatever. It's cool. I'm hyped for the mid-card titles, but, this is just going to tell everyone now, a future tangent that I'm going to have is, how the fuck are you going to make any of these? None of these titles are going to be on the line of WrestleMania. I don't ever want to hear anyone talk about good tag team wrestling in WWE again because the titles are never going to be on Mania again.
I was just going to ask. I was just going to ask, what do you think gets defended on pay-per-view first? The mid-card women's titles or the tag titles?
The men's tag titles or the women's?
Men's.
Oh, the women's mid-card. The men's tag titles are never being defended on pay-per-view. They don't care. They don't care. They've never cared. The only time they cared is when they had main eventers fighting over them, like Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. Like, they just... Splitting them up was genuinely up there for worst decisions that this man's ever made. But, like... And that's why, even though it's a different company, it's like, why are you going to make women's tag titles when they're never going to be defended on pay-per-view? Like...
I believe in what are Rev, what are Deanna and Taya called?
Oh God, I forgot.
Is it the Vendetta?
Something like that.
Yeah. I believe
Look,
Deanna.
Look, whatever. Deanna should have won a title by now. It's fucking crazy, but like, that's neither here nor there. But anyway, I'm gonna hop off because I'm dying. So I'm gonna go to bed. But
Feel better, buddy.
Thank you for joining us,
yeah.
Danny. We appreciate you powering through post surgery to be on the show and talk about the C2, excuse me, and everything else. And Tony
Yeah, I'm
Storm.
glad I could help derail the show a bit. You know, I missed it.
Only for
We
an
missed
hour
it.
and 20 minutes.
We missed it.
All right. Good
Danny,
night, you guys.
I'm gonna have to text you tonight. You could respond in the morning, but we got some pod business we gotta discuss.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Me too.
Okay. Thank you, Danny, for appearing on the show. James, do you remember where we are?
Yes, we were with Ospreay and Claudio. That was more or less where we were.
I do think we did skip a little bit before that. So let's double it back to when we came back from the first commercial break. Because after the Bandito vignette, we actually went backstage with the Death Riders after.
That's fucking crazy that's how early we are in the show.
Yeah, no,
Holy shit.
We were barely into the show. And then we went to Tony's store and then we did nothing else.
Okay.
But briefly, this was very quick for Moxley because he was very pissed off after the attack by Hangman and then subsequent fight between him, Switchblade, and Orange Cassidy. Mox calls himself a marked man, saying he wouldn't have it any other way because it's the only way to live. He then says the problem is everyone wanting a title shot because of their egos, saying it is egos that run AEW and cause all of the problems there. So his solution is he challenges everybody to a fatal four-way match at World's End, which will later became official.
I love it. I love it. You don't see a champion challenge for a fatal four-way. It's especially a heel champion. You see it like pushed on them.
Yep.
It's like, well, you want the shot, you want the shot, you want the shot. You're going to have to deal with all of them. And they're always pissed off about it. He's like, you know what? You all want me? Bring it on. It fits his character right now with the Death Riders beautifully.
Yeah, perfectly done by him. And even commentators, like you don't normally see a champion put himself at the disadvantage, but that's the type of person Moxley is.
Yep.
And they said that right after the promo. And as we went back to commentary and they were talking about said promo, we then got interrupted by Christian Cage, who was still hiding up in his luxury box.
By himself now. Yep.
And Christian starts talking about Moxley's challenge, saying he has a problem with everyone in the match and runs down the reason why. Obviously, he had a problem with Switchblade from their previous piece. He has a problem with Hangman because Hangman didn't do his job at Full Gear when he was supposed to help Christian cash in, and it just didn't really work out. And then he just doesn't like Orange Cassidy for reasons. And he doesn't like Moxley because he has what Christian wants, and that is the title. Christian says that if Mox gets out of that match as champion, he will cash in his title shot, and this time he will not miss. And after he becomes champion, he will force Moxley back down to his despair to the point where Moxley will start telling himself it's okay to have that drink, and it'll be Christian who sends Moxley back to rehab.
Jesus Christ.
Cage then goes to leave, but he stops to turn around and tell Kansas City to go fuck themselves, but he doesn't get that far in the sentence because he is cut off when he gets startled by Hook, who appears at the door for the suite. Hook then uses his cast to break open the glass and open the door and come and rush in and attack Christian, choking him out with the red rum and even threatening to throw him off the balcony, much to the delight of Tony Schiavone and the horror of Nigel McGuinness. And then he throws him on top of the table area where they're in the counter where there's all the food and everything, and throws him into the wall. And as Hook is doing that, Kip Sabian and Nick Wayne finally return, and they are able to pull Hook off of Christian. However, Hook is able to fend them off enough to the point where Christian, in the chaos, is able to escape. Hook then follows, and then Nick and Kip follow after him. And then Tony Schiavone, as I mentioned before, what a Dynamite moment. I get it, Schiavone. It was a cool moment. Stop yelling at me.
It's a Michael Cole. It's a Michael Cole moment of like, this is a moment, and it's like, if you call it a moment, it's not a moment anymore.
JR does it too. He do what a moment. And I'm like,
yeah.
So
let it be a moment. Don't tell us it's a moment.
But it was funny as hell. So
yeah.
Hook almost committed murder.
I need us to acknowledge the fact there is no reason that Christian turned around while Hook was there.
No, there was not. Like it wasn't even like the camera like drastically shifted because like if you at least looked at the camera and then looked behind him, it would have made more sense. But he was just like
the crowd didn't, and the crowd didn't react to Hook being there.
They did a little. It started to get a little noisier. They
did a little bit at the very end, to the point that I have to wonder if they didn't see it on the screen.
Maybe. We've been noticing they don't always show everything at AEW shows on Jumbotron in the middle when they have them. They usually end up just showing them up above the entranceway, which is terrible, Tony Khan. You have to fix that. Most people can't fucking see that on that angle.
Yes, 1,000%. So it was comical how that played out. Like, you could have easily had Hook break the glass, and that's what turns Christian around.
Yeah.
Would have played so much better. But it's fine. Nitpicking for the sake of nitpicking. I apologize. But it was funny. I love the tease of him possibly throwing Christian over, because Christian's facial expression sold the shit out of that moment. It was great.
So did Tony and Nigel. That was a great back and forth.
Yeah, no, absolutely. This is a fun filler feud. Not a lot of it makes sense, especially from the thought process. If I'm Christian and I've got this fucking contract, why am I going out of my way to cause problems with other people who could derail that?
Well, he wanted Hook in the family, and now he has just decided Hook isn't worth it. So he tried to take him out of the equation, but Hook isn't. Hook's not going to let it go.
I don't blame Hook, but it's silly. It doesn't make sense. There is a serious possibility here of Hook either costing Christian or Hook getting a world title shot against Christian. Both of these are realistic possibilities.
Yeah.
Nevertheless, this was fun. It was silly. And again, Christian's a dummy for just broadcasting where he is.
It was fun. And sending his sons away. Now, it said that there was no reasons for the sons to leave, but Christian, during the opening match, did send them away for some reason. We don't know what it is. But
commentary said food and drink.
Well, Nigel made a joke about him going to get a beverage or sending them to get beverages. And Excalibur was like, I was going to make a joke about that. Because Nigel was serious. Excalibur was like, I was going to make a joke about that, but I have to imagine it's for something much more nefarious. But they never really expounded upon what it was. After everything settled down, we came back from commercial. We did eventually get Will Ospreay and Claudio Castagnoli. We've been through this match for the most part. I will just say that Ospreay and Claudio both have 3 points in Gold League, which is currently a mess in the standings. There's like 3 or 4 people with 3 points.
Wait, Ospreay and who have 3 points?
And Claudio.
Claudio had 6 points.
Oh, does Claudio have 6? Maybe then they both have 6.
No. That was my point. Ospreay is wrestling his second match against Claudio, who's wrestling his third match. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So they're now at the end of this match, they're both at 6 points. But they're both at 6 points with Claudio having wrestled the third match. So Ospreay is technically in a better position than Claudio is.
See, is this from tonight? No, that's just the things. Yeah, no, yeah. Again, that was weird. And I will say, you can look at something like the NFL where you have teams coming off of buys, or somebody has a Thursday night game and then you're playing them the week after. Not everybody is always on the same rest, but agreed. As we mentioned, the booking for this has been a little weird, and it hasn't really worked out the same for everybody. So I will say, yes, Ospreay has 6 points. He is tied at the top with Claudio and Ricochet after his win tonight, which we'll talk about later. You then have Brody King and Darby with 3 points apiece. They've each fought Darby has fought 2 matches. Brody has fought 3. And Commander has 0 points after 3 matches. So
2.
Sucks for him.
2.
Oh, yeah, technically 2 matches. But the first match was for Juice.
Yeah.
So,
which just makes me sad to think that Juice was probably going to go 0-3 in his first 3.
yeah. And just since there wasn't a match on it, I'll run down Blue League really quick since we touched upon it earlier. Fletcher leads with 9 points after 3 matches. Then have Okada and Garcia each with 4 points
because they had the tie.
Yep, 4 points after 3 matches. Mark Briscoe has 3 points after 3 matches. My man, Briscoe has had 3 matches.
No, I know Okada and Garcia
had 3 matches. They have 4 points.
But Okada lost a match. I forgot.
Yep. To Fletcher.
Point proven.
Who again has 9. Briscoe has had 3 matches. He has 3 points. My man Shelton Benjamin has 3 points after 2 matches, and the Beast Mortos has 0 points after 2 matches. I imagine their next matchup is against each other. So there you go. That's a breakdown of the Classic. All right. After this, we went backstage to Ricochet for an interview as Renee was there to ask him about his match with Brody King in the Continental Classic Gold League later in the night, and she asked him how he prepares for a guy like that, considering the size disparity. Ricochet that he is in AEW for a competition like this, like the Continental Classic, like Brody King himself, and while Brody might be the toughest guy in the tournament, he is not Ricochet. Ricochet then says that even though both him and Brody are 1-1 in the tournament tonight, he's the one who holds all the cards. And as he is saying this, he pulls out the business card of MVP and stares it down as he makes that quip.
And then he makes that laugh. That is so annoying.
Yep.
Does Ricochet think he's cooler than he actually is?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
I think a little bit. Maybe his character does. I don't know about actual Ricochet.
I don't know. His promo, like his interviews in real life media outlets, don't make him sound like he's a humble guy.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I'll agree. Like he seemed pretty chill in his CVV one, but like I could see why he definitely has a lot of confidence in himself.
There is no AEW without Ricochet, he says. Ugh. God bless. I wish I had that level of confidence.
Doesn't everybody? Before we went to commercial, we saw MJF arrive at Dynamite for the first time in forever. And then we came back to from commercial with another backstage interview, this time with James's boy, Matt Cardona.
Woo, woo, woo.
We saw the highlights of his arrival last week to challenge Chris Jericho for the Ring of Honor World Championship at, Final Battle? Yes, there, I got it. And Renee asked about the beatdown he received from Jericho and my man Brian Keith when he showed up. Cardona starts off by saying he's thrilled to be back in AEW, and then he actually says that he belongs in AEW, which I thought was an interesting sentiment.
Yeah, I wonder if that was a live interview or not, because it definitely sounded like a guy who's trying to get the fans to say, give him a job.
He then also says that after the beatdown from, again, Jericho and Keith, he knows what's coming for him at Final Battle, but he doesn't want to wait around, and since he's always ready, he challenges Brian Keith to a match on Rampage this Friday. We then got ready for the Adam Cole versus Kyle O'Reilly match. Obviously, the winner of that would move on to face MJF for the Dynamite Diamond Ring at World's End. But first, after Adam Cole's entrance, we got a backstage interview with Kyle O'Reilly. Renee really busting her ass right now. So Renee asked Kyle about their history and how he prepared for the match, but before he can answer, the Kingdom come over to try to talk to him. Taven tries to talk Kyle out of fighting Adam Cole, saying that he doesn't need to do this, but Bennett steps in and says that he knows Kyle's going to do it either way, but he should just remember that at the end of the day, they're all still family. Kyle responds that they should have remembered that before they let one of their brothers get hurt, and he goes out to make his entrance. We then got the match between Cole and O'Reilly, and I will jump towards the end where after a great series of counters, Cole hit a running knee, almost lowered the boom, but not quite after he hit the ropes, and both men were down. As they got up, Cole was able to get the upper hand, and tries to hit a brainbuster, but Kyle countered into an armbar and then into an ankle lock on Cole's bad ankle, which he had been working over for most of the match, and Cole was able to get to the ropes for a break. The two then fought up to the top ropes, and Cole was able to get Kyle back down to the mat, and then Cole followed that up with a Panama Sunrise, and then went to take down the knee pad, but as he was doing so and playing to the crowd, Kyle picked the ankle and was able to get another ankle lock in until Cole once again got the rope break, this time accidentally sending Kyle to the outside as they broke that up. Cole followed him out there, and after avoiding a brain buster, he was able to hit a thrust kick and toss a very loopy O'Reilly back into the ring. And Kyle was so dazed that the referee went over to check on him, which allowed MJF to sneak up out of the stands as Cole was waiting to hit, to lower the boom. And MJF attempted to hit him with the Dynamite Diamond Ring. However, Cole notices him and ducked it and then hit MJF with a super kick, knocking him off the apron. Kyle, who has recovered by this point, uses the distraction to again pick the ankle, but this time Cole was able to use the momentum and roll Kyle up with the small package, getting the win. MJF escaped through the crowd. I don't even think you saw him on the camera shot, but it looked like Cole had jumped up on the ropes to yell at him. And then after the match, the Kingdom came down to the ring, and all three men, including Cole, held their hands out to help Kyle up. But O'Reilly instead just ripped off his tape and angrily rolled out of the ring and went to the back. So, James, for a couple of guys who have faced each other, I think now 16 times or 17 times, and I'm not kidding with that number. I think Excalibur said 16. I wasn't sure if he was saying was there 16 match or they had 16 previously, but either way, that's a lot of matches. But they did a really good job. We've seen this so many times; it's hard to make it fresh every time. But considering we hadn't seen it in a while, I thought we got good storytelling out of O'Reilly trying to go after that ankle the entire time. And then eventually, because they know each other so well, he went into the well one too many times, and Cole was able to catch him and end up winning.
Yeah. I mean, 16, 17 times, that's over at least 3 companies. 4, because they've wrestled in New Japan, they've wrestled in Ring of Honor, they've wrestled on NXT and WWE, and now they're doing it in AEW. That is a cool thing to say about one of your best friends. Yeah. You know, that's a cool thing to say. No matter where we go, we're going to be linked together. And I think that's awesome.
And to have that sort of longevity, too, with one of your best friends being able to go from company to company and still tear it down wherever you go.
Exactly.
Might be 5, PWG.
I see. That's why I said at least 4. Because, PWG felt like 1, too. All that. The match was fine. I did like the element of, I don't think you commented on it. When Adam was making his entrance, he did not look happy to be wrestling this match.
No.
Like, he looked frustrated, and not like, I can't believe he's making me wrestle him. It's just like, I don't want to be wrestling my friend. That was kind of...
especially in this situation with MJF. And then they also commented when O'Reilly was doing the interview that it was up on the Tron and Cole didn't look at it at all. Like almost he was either trying to, like you said, he was angry that he had to be there, or he was just trying to pump himself up to actually fight Kyle because he didn't want to do it.
Yeah. So I really did like that added wrinkle to something. Every time they've wrestled in the past, it's always been with such venom.
Yeah.
So to see it reluctantly now is a fun twist. O'Reilly is O'Reilly. We know how good he is in the ring. Him targeting the ankle the entire match was great. Cole, I don't want to say he's lost the step, but he still doesn't feel as comfortable as I would have liked to see him at this point.
I mean, he has somebody else's ankle in his foot. Like, I don't
I
really
get
blame
it.
him.
I totally get it. I totally get it. It's not, why aren't you here yet? It's more, it sucks that we want to see him further along health-wise.
Yeah.
And mobility-wise. but it was good. I think it's weird that this is the first instance we've had MJF back on live TV in a couple of months. Like he did the
5 seconds.
Like I would have rathered he just he shouldn't have made the grand entrance. He should have just returned, got involved in the match. I think that would have gotten the crowd to flip the fuck out because they cheered like crazy when he showed up. When they did the backstage like entrance. But you do that for the good guy. You do that for the good guy. And it just it was a weird choice in my opinion. And then for him not to say anything afterwards just added to it.
Yeah. And like MJF is enough of a pompous ass where he would want that entrance, but it did ruin the surprise for the match later. Like we all knew it's like, all right, when's he coming out to try to fuck over Cole?
If you're not coming out to talk before the matchup, I'm expecting you in the matchup.
Yeah.
So it was just really bizarre on in my view. And I'm thankful they didn't swerve us and Cole won because I did not need a repeat of Roddy versus MJF. Let's just be done at World's End. Or at the very least, let's hit a peak at World's End. So yeah, well played by both guys. And well played. And the aftermatch of Kyle not being willing to not make amends, but to work it out and talk it out or like let things be on good terms. It's frustrating because it feels like we're just dragging it out a little bit longer too. So I don't know where that's going to, I mean, I'm sure that's going to get resolved at World's End as well, or at the very least, there will be a huge development on that front at World's End.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
I hope he goes back to the conglomeration and Briscoe is just like, look, I know you're mad at him, but he's still like one of your longest friends. He should try to make up with him.
I mean, I think it would be cool if Mark of all people says it. It's just like,
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that guy's like your brother, and as somebody who lost a brother, don't throw it away. I think that'd be great.
Yeah,
I'm getting emotional now.
If they are, trying to get them all back together, we'll see what happens. I really think there might be a like Adam Cole heel turn at the end of all of this, just because he gets the ring.
I just don't want to live in a reality where MJF and Kyle O'Reilly are on the same side because I got to tell you, I don't care.
No, I don't
don't care.
I think Cole turns heel. I don't think MJF turns face. I don't think Kyle joins him.
I agree. It's just enemy of my enemy. Regardless, yeah. I also do need to comment, by the way. It's not a tangent, it's relevant, but it feels like one. I went to MLW last Thursday with Matt.
Yeah. I hope everybody enjoyed the content you guys got there, and we put
Matt
up on Instagrams and whatever.
Yeah, Matt killed it there. Bobby Fish is a big presence in MLW right now, and he's part of a group called the Rogue Horsemen with C.W. Anderson and Brock Anderson. So that's
a great name, and with Brock in it.
I said both CW's related too in some way. And I agree. I thought it was a great name. Man, was he the worst part of my night? I feel terrible because I like Bobby as part of the group with Undisputed, but man, did I just not care?
Yeah.
What a world.
When he's with Undisputed, in any way, shape, or form, he is the person who talks the least. Yeah. So it's easy to hide him. I feel like he's probably very front and center in that group, and it becomes a thing. Folks, where is the lie? You end up with stuff like that.
A game of great importance. Come on.
Yeah,
man.
He's got two. He's got that one, and the other one where he's standing at the top of the ropes there and Impact.
It is an iconic image that is burned into my brain.
So good. Want to quickly jump into the chat because we got an update from our friend Chris LeClaire. Good to see you, Chris. Saying that Toni Storm will wrestle on Rampage this Friday. Very interesting.
Yeah, wow.
Surprising Rampage.
For a show that we're all pretty sure is going away, they are really putting it out with a bang. Apparently, like this last Rampage was incredible, like the best of the year.
Yep. Rampage is good, man. The sickos know what they're doing.
I've got no problem with it, but it's a show on Friday night at what time? 10 o'clock?
Yeah, it's on at 10.
That's insanity.
Yeah, but it's great. Every time I watch it, I've never had a complaint.
God.
After this match, we went backstage for a promo from FTR. Apparently, they prevented a murder last week. They broke up the jumping of Orange Cassidy by the Death Riders because they were trying to cut a promo and they heard something.
Oh,
excuse me. Went to break it up. She's facing Harley. You're burning that match.
I'm
gonna
have to watch wrestling on a Friday.
Dude, just watch it back on, like, when you have time. You don't have to watch it at 10 o'clock on a Friday.
I need them to know I support them.
Yeah. Anyway, they saved Orange Cassidy when the Death Riders jumped him. I believe it was on Collision, and they tried to dump acid down his throat. Or they kept saying the chemical on commentary.
It was cleaner.
Just say fucking bleach then. Jesus.
I don't think they can. I don't think they can.
Oh, that's lame. Anyway, yes, the red viscous liquid. Either way, FTR are back after they got interrupted last week. Just to hype up Fight for the Fallen, which is in their hometown or near their hometown of Asheville, North Carolina. And all the money from Fight for the Fallen is going to help rebuild all the communities there following the hurricane earlier in the year that just absolutely devastated the place. And, since they are from the area, they wanted to make sure everybody came out and supported that. And that's also going to be on the 1st, which means it is going to be the first simulcast over on HBO Max. Yep. So they were there to promote both. Also, thank goodness it is on HBO Max. So I don't have to deal with this TNT happening or TBS app anymore.
I am so excited to start watching it on Max. I'm nervous because I'm sure there are going to be bugs, but I'm excited.
I don't think so, dude. I watch hockey in the NBA on the Max app all the time. And
really? Live?
Perfect. Live. The tournament, the NCAA tournament too.
Okay.
Live. And
I think I'm gun shy after Netflix with the Tyson Paul sitcom, but because that wasn't a fight. But
it's a good way to put it.
Thank you. But we'll see. We'll see. I'm rooting for it. And it's going to be amazing when I don't have to deal with ratings reports anymore from AEW or WWE.
Yeah. They're the worst. And you know what, too, just quickly on streaming, the only problem I ever have with it personally, my Xbox is slightly older, and it just goes fuzzy every once in a while.
Okay.
It just pixelates. That's it. When I use my new Xbox, it's clean.
What's your most up-to-date system?
I have a Series X. Or Series S, excuse me. The little white one. I got it for free when I got FiOS.
Nice.
Love getting stuff for free. In the meantime, though, for FTR, they wanted to address said dust up with the Death Riders. And Dak says that they actually have no problem with them, which is a little surprising. But if the problem does go the other way, that they'll be in the middle of the ring on Collision if the Death Riders would like to hash it out.
I could see, especially so that show for Fight for the Fallen is in Ashford or Asheville. Which is it?
Asheville, North Carolina.
That's their hometown, and that's where Adam Copeland lives too.
Yes.
And it's been widely reported that Adam will be back in January. Yeah. I could see rated FTR
making a return there.
Making a return and then having them go against the Death Riders for the trios. Maybe not that night, but setting up for it.
That'd be cool.
It gives FTR something new to do because God knows they need it.
Yeah. What gleefully pointing out there are so many things you can't say on TV, but fuck is just fine. Here on this pod. I think they're probably just trying to avoid the word bleach just so kids don't go do it.
Yeah.
But bleach is very easy to get to. Also, you can say fuck on TBS. It's just
I think after 9 o'clock you can.
No, you can say fuck whenever you want on cable television. It's just they don't want. The only thing that FCC rules are good for is broadcast TV. So CBS, ABC, Fox, those are required to stay within FCC guidelines.
But then why did they get
anything you pay for, you can say whatever you want. It's just that the companies will put in their own standard and practices because a lot of advertisers won't want to advertise on channels or shows in particular where they can't get as wide an audience because they're cursing or putting lewd acts, which is why the movie channels, Showtime, HBO, Stars, so on and so forth, they charge more because they don't have advertising, but then they can do whatever they want.
Yeah.
There is TV one-on-one with Nick.
We got that'll be a weekly segment now.
I'm clear for it. To finish TV one-on-one, I actually streamed TBS today on my TV, but through my phone. Apparently you can download the official TBS app on the Samsung TV, but you can only use it if you're casting from your phone.
That's fucking exhausting.
It's weird too, right? You'd think I'd just be able to sign in and stream, but they got lazy, didn't build a full app, so I had to download the TBS app on both my phone and the TV. It worked pretty well. It lagged once the whole time. I
had to watch the first 10 minutes on the app, and it was a little buggy, but it corrected itself pretty quickly. But
yeah, I tried to use the Xbox TBS app again. It wasn't loading, so I was like, all right, let me try the TV, and that's what I found.
There you go.
All right, back on track here. After commercial, we once again got one of Chris Jericho's New York Minutes. Cool. Jericho obviously was there to address Cardona's challenge to Brian Keith, with Keith accepting, saying he's going to take a bite out of Cardona. And then
Don't laugh at that. Don't laugh at that.
It was a real, but I'm not doing it justice. The setup was really funny, because I think Jericho set it up saying where like you want to go to the Big Apple and take a bite out of the bad apple.
Yeah.
And then Keith was like, "I'm going to take a bite out of you." Anyway, Jericho
so passionately.
Keith has been great in such small windows too.
And well, he's got an opportunity here because Big Bill isn't on TV because he just got married.
Oh, that's where he is. Congratulations to him.
Yep, to Lexi Nair.
Oh, I didn't know they were together. Congrats to both of them.
Yep.
As I was saying, Jericho also announced that he and Cardona will be having a contract signing for their match at Final Battle in a couple of weeks over on Ring of Honor TV, which is on the website behind the paywall. And this week, to piss off New Yorkers, Jericho said that the Staten Island Ferry ran from Washington Heights to the Meatpacking District and brought up former New York Mayor Michael Bloomberg. Great job, buddy. At least he was wearing a Rangers jersey.
What a fucking heel.
Yeah, at least
no. You don't want people like that associated with you. That's the thing.
His dad played for the team.
I know, but that doesn't make me happy either right now.
Fair. I mean, he did one good thing. He should have put on a Devils jersey. That would have done it.
Oh, that would have been great heat. I don't think he could have done it. I don't think he could have brought himself to do it.
Yeah, I don't know if his dad played for the Devils. So I know he played for the Rangers. I don't know where else he played. I never really looked it up. Yeah. It's saying to my earlier point about TV. Yeah, just same thing with cursing, brief nudity. You could do it, but the sponsors get pissed, and as do the Twitter morons. I always kind of feel bad, like when stuff like that happens on TBS or TNT, people will write into the FCC to complain, and the FCC is like, "There's literally nothing we can do. Don't watch the show then.
Don't pay for it."
Yeah, but if it's CBS or something, then there's a fine. Like at the Janet Jackson thing, a lot of stuff went down after that because a lot of letters to the FCC, a lot of fines levied to various places, including. Was that on Fox or CBS? Do you remember?
Which one?
The Janet Jackson incident at the Super Bowl.
Oh, no, I don't remember. That was like I was a kid.
Whoever showed it, like they got in trouble. They had to pay fines. Whoever did the halftime show had to pay fines. That was a whole to do. It did, however, lead to two of the greatest television inventions, TiVo.
Yeah,
because it was already out, but people didn't understand the need to rewind live television until that happened.
Yep.
And YouTube, because the kids who invented YouTube needed a video sharing site to put up the video of Janet Jackson getting her.
So we have a platform because of Janet Jackson's nipple.
Yes.
God bless America.
You gotta love it. All right, one quick. I got to put the thing off. I'm going to do this alone. I wanted to watch that halftime so bad, I was at my grandmother's house, and my parents made me walk home, made us before, like, you're like, oh, we'll be back in time and we won't miss it. We missed it. I didn't know about it until the next morning when it was the front page of the Post.
Yeah.
I was furious.
I
I was
didn't
8.
watch it live because as a kid I wasn't a football fan, so I didn't I didn't care that the Super Bowl was on, so I just didn't watch it.
Yeah.
And then I saw it in the newspaper the next day, and I was like, wow.
Yeah, I didn't miss any of the game at least, but I
Yeah.
missed that and I was upset. All right, back on track here. We then went to a sit-down interview with Darby Allin, and this was actually a very good segment. I think it's going to get lost in the return of Toni Storm, but I really enjoyed this. So Shivani sitting down with Darby, mentions the fact that he hasn't talked since he got in the car accident, the self-inflicted car accident at Full Gear. So Tony asked Darby if he thinks the fight with the Death Riders is over after all of the losses at Full Gear they suffered with Orange losing and him missing with that truck and everything. But Darby says it will never be over as long as they have any semblance of control. To him, the Death Riders are taking away everything that AEW stands for, starting with putting a chair around Bryan Danielson's neck and essentially ending his career and taking away the backbone of AEW. Darby understands why some of the younger guys don't want to get involved, as this is the first time a lot of them are making an actual living from pro wrestling, but they need to understand that if they don't do anything about it, it will keep happening. Darby then references the fact that people think he is reckless and impulsive, and as he is saying this, he just suddenly starts punching himself in the face so he can get his mouth to start bleeding to prove the point to Shivani that the blood and the violence don't bother him, but what bothers him is when nobody does anything about it.
I know this was pre-taped. I got to look back if there was a cut, because it looked like he legitimately just punched himself and started bleeding.
Yeah. So it came from inside his mouth.
Yeah.
So there's a non-zero chance it was a blood pack. But it wouldn't surprise me if Darby also knew how to just punch himself in the face and get himself to bleed really quick.
Exactly.
Like you just bite your cheek and punch and just
or like maybe he had a cut already that he knew where to hit. Like I don't know, but god damn, he's crazy. And my favorite part of the whole thing is what came after the interview, but please continue.
Yeah, I was going to talk about that as well. But after Darby says he's cool, he isn't okay with people not doing anything about the violence, Shivani mentions that all of this is going on during the Continental Classic, and Darby calls the C2 everything that's right with AEW as people are going out there for the love of the game and AEW itself. He then claims he needs to win the tournament because it represents AEW and its passion, but despite that, he isn't stupid and he knows there's going to be collateral damage along the way. And then, James, as you mentioned, we were going back to commentary as they were setting up for the next match. But Shivani really wanted to step in there and say that he knows a lot of people, as Darby said, thinks that Darby is reckless and crazy and impulsive. But Shivani called him one of the most level-headed people he's ever met in wrestling, as he just sat there so calm and as he said, level-headed, which you don't see a lot in this business, especially from somebody who acts like that in the ring.
I loved that bit from Shivani. Thank you for nailing it, because you got what he said perfectly. I love that bit from Shivani because 2 reasons. One, it's batshit crazy after seeing this man punch himself in the face to say he's perfectly level-headed. Come on. But 2, it does portray Darby in such a light as other people recognize Darby as the leader he's trying to become. People are recognizing the growth he's had since he a kid in this company. So I thought it was great. And we've compared Darby to a lot of people over the years. We've gotten obviously Sting. We've gotten Jeff Hardy. There have been a lot of people. Do you know who he reminded me the most in this match? Not this match, this promo. Mick Foley. I got such Mick Foley vibes. Wasn't there a promo Mick did where he pulled the staples out of his head?
Yeah, I think so.
I feel like there's also a promo where Mick punched himself in the face too.
That's definitely true.
Right? Like, I know there are some people who still don't get it with Darby, and I don't think they ever will. You know, like, he's probably just not their cup of tea. Even if you're not a fan of his style, I think it's impossible to not recognize just the cool factor that this kid has. I don't like using this word because it's so overused now, but the aura this kid has.
Yeah. I liked presence too. I feel like that's the more adult version of saying aura.
Right. I tried. I got to stay hip with the kids, you know?
Yeah, but like aura used, not to sidetrack, but aura used to like mean something like Darby as opposed to it just being thrown around on the internet for, you know,
it's
any small
now.
thing.
Yeah, it's overused now.
It's to the point where it's lost its meaning.
Exactly.
Like literally.
Literally.
I also thought it was cool that Darby did mention Sting as one of those, you know, big parts of AEW, saying like because he wanted to defend it because it allowed Sting to have his last match. It allowed him to get a job. And he also mentioned that Moxley seems to have forgotten it allowed him to, you know, reboot his career after he had left a different company.
Yep.
So I thought that was another very good line from Darby that I failed to mention. So this was very, very good out of him. It's come such a long way in his promo work. And I know this is a sit-down interview and you could, and it was pre-taped and stuff, but the difference with him is night and day in terms of talking.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Again, to me, it shows how much he's grown in this company in the 5 years AEW has existed.
Yeah. To you know its point, he's probably the only guy who can make a pink hoodie look cool. That's not even a pink hoodie. It is a pink fur jacket. But the Acclaimed.
Also, James, I've been rocking the pink hoodie every day, like pretty much every day since I bought it at Grand Slam.
Yep. It's a good look on you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Not really a pink guy. I tried it. It wasn't my thing.
It's got to be the right pink. Like, I've tried pink before, and it doesn't always work. It's got to be the right pink. Otherwise, it's just, it doesn't work.
Yeah, I tried it when, like, you know, Kanye came out, and he was rocking pink polos, and everyone was doing it, and I was just like, nah.
You are this is going to sound silly. You are either a pink hat or a pink shorts or a pink pants guy. You don't wear shorts that often, do you?
I'm doing the summer, but, like, I only really have, like, basketball shorts. So, like, when I go out, I usually end up wearing jeans.
Yeah.
Because I refuse to wear those, like, khaki shorts because they're too short. They don't fit.
I get you.
Yeah, if there's, like, pink in that, there's not a lot of pink teams. But, like, if I got, like a cancer jersey, like breast cancer, I'd rock it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or, like, the Bret Hart hockey jersey. I'd rock that.
Yeah, that's cool.
There you go. Just can't be predominantly pink. Anyway, speaking of colors, Gold League Continental Classic match between Ricochet and Brody King. I know we briefly touched upon this earlier, but I'll run through it really fast because Brody was knocking around Ricochet early and often. He just either knocked him out of midair or caught him out of midair and just suplexed him, throwing him around. Hit a crossbody into the barricade, powerbomb on the apron. It was a disaster. Until eventually Ricochet was able to stun King with an enziguri and then went on the offensive, hitting a bunch of kicks, knocking Brody out of the ring, hitting a tope suicida, getting him back in the ring, and then hitting a springboard 450. And then Brody just kicked out at 1 after all of that.
I loved it.
King then took it right to Ricochet again, fending off any semblance of a counterattack Ricochet could get in, before getting Ricochet into the corner and hitting a cannonball that Ricochet was able to kick out of. I did really like Nigel was like, he could have just grabbed the rope and he didn't see it. King then brought Ricochet across the ring and put him on the top rope and then went up there himself, but Ricochet fought him off and then like basically slipped through King's legs and pulled him out a couple of steps for a miracle power bomb. Ricochet then went up top on the other side of the ring and hit a shooting star press. But instead of kicking out, or I guess as he kicked out, Brody just fucking grabbed his neck.
Favorite part of the match.
And just, while holding him, got up and then pulled him into a sleeper hold.
Yep.
Ricochet eventually clawed his way into the corner to break the hold. And as he's trying to get the rope break, because Brody's not really letting it go, he rips the pad off of the top turnbuckle. Brody, despite breaking the hold, is still able to retain control of Ricochet, and once again brings him up to the top rope, setting him up there. But again, Ricochet is able to escape, and as he does so, he slams Brody's head down into the exposed turnbuckle. We then had a very wobbly King who was teetering up there, which Ospreay did earlier in the night too, and it looked awesome before he went for that Sky Twister. But this one was really funny with Brody, and Ricochet just kind of looked at him, and he's like, okay, kicked out his legs. Brody's head again hits the exposed turnbuckle. Ricochet then hits 2 spirit guns, as King had kicked out of one earlier, and picks up the win, and he now has 3 points in Gold League. Now, James, I think it's very important to note that towards the end of this match, Ricochet was getting booed.
Yes.
As you know, it has repeatedly said Brody is very, very over. Like I said, people love barking, although I feel like his is more of a woof. Woof.
Yeah.
And people were booing Ricochet by the end. And he even tweeted out, I think something along the lines of, so I heard y'all mad, huh? Or something like that after Dynamite ended. So between that, the fact he used the top turnbuckle, whether it was intentionally or unintentionally, was left a bit.
The second time was intentional, wasn't it? Didn't he hit him with it twice? Yeah.
Well, true, but I'm saying maybe in terms of the fact that him taking it off, in the first place, whether or not it was, a means to an end, dastardly means to an end, was left ambiguous. But between that and the MVP card tease earlier, we might be seeing or at least the beginnings of the Ricochet heel turn here.
I think it's inevitable. He's teasing the Hurt Syndicate connection, that in itself, heel group. And I just, unfortunate, again, trying to be objective with him, not trying to be mean or pick on. I think it was just a matter of time before the crowd just stopped pretending like he was like on another level now that he's in AEW. He's even acknowledged it in interviews, like, I'm not really wrestling any different than I was in WWE. This is my style.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think once the shiny new toy aspect of him being here wore off, I think it was inevitable that the crowd was just going to kind of be like, well, what now? And more than anything, I think the biggest thing about this is just how over Brody is and the fans just not wanting him to lose. And we're going to boo somebody beating him.
And somebody who is still technically face, which is actually why I think it was a good time to get this ball rolling.
Yes, no, I agree. My biggest thing here is, and I've been saying this to you for a while, I very much see a world where the Hurt Syndicate and the House of Black wrestle. And I feel Ricochet winning makes that harder to accomplish. Because if you have the Hurt Syndicate, if you have Brody lose and then have the Hurt Syndicate bring the fight, if you have Brody lose and you have the House of Black bring the fight to that Hurt Syndicate, they kind of just look like they have sour grapes. And that's not the look you want to have from your babyface. But if you had Ricochet lose and then he's with the Hurt Syndicate and they're like, we're going to redeem that loss, that's a better start to that group feud, in my opinion.
Counterpoint, would the Hurt Syndicate accept Ricochet after a loss? This feels like a real prove-it type of win for him.
And that's a big thing, too. Great point. They clearly are not against losses. Shelton lost. He's not being ostracized. He just needed to be reminded, what do? We hurt people.
Yep.
And that's what Ricochet did in this match.
Yeah.
He hurt Brody. He hit him with 2 spirit guns. He used the turnbuckle for the advantage.
Twice.
So I think even in loss, showing that moxie would be enough for the Hurt Syndicate. Because if you remember last week, MVP's thing to Shelton, it wasn't even so much that Shelton lost.
He was playing with his food.
Exactly. He was upset that he was trying to be athletic with Fletcher. Just hurt him.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll obviously never know. It played out the way that it played out. But I'm very into this concept of House of Black versus Hurt Syndicate.
It also just kind of feels like Shields versus Wyatt's.
Yes.
Like when that happened. I don't even need a big thing. Just have them accidentally show up and stare each other down and then give me 2 matches.
I agree. It's like I said about the tournament earlier. Sometimes it's just cool to see cool guy A versus cool guy number 2.
Yeah. The Shield and the Wyatts, they accidentally stared each other down once, and then they were just like, yep, match at the pay-per-view.
Off to the races.
They didn't talk about each other at all, or barely they talked about each other. It felt like they barely even had a feud. It was just, here's your match, guys.
The storyline reason was the Shield and the Wyatts were teaming up. And I think it was against Bryan and Punk.
Okay, I couldn't remember why.
And this is what happened. It was for Elimination Chamber. And Bryan, Punk, and I think Sheamus were going against Roman, Mox, and Seth. And the winning team got put into the Elimination Chamber. And the Wyatts got involved and accidentally led to Team Good Guy beating the Shield. And that led to the animosity.
You got in our business. Now we have to get into yours. Right. Okay. Yeah. Man, so you just need something like that.
That was such a beautiful time in wrestling.
It really was. Stupid steel chairs ruining everything.
Yep.
But I'm curious to see what happens with Ricochet. I'm curious to see now what happens with Brody too, because as we talked about earlier, he is the most over guy in the House of Black, and I think part of that A is everyone loves wolfing, and B, he's there the most.
Yeah, he is wrestling the most for House of Black. He's involved in the most storylines on his own.
Yeah, or he was always the one to back up Julia too.
Yeah. His feud with Darby, I think, did wonders for him with the crowd.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't think he's winning, and that's fine. He shouldn't win, probably. But, again,
you should get close. Like, you know, he'll be a guy who, like, probably wins about half of his matches and doesn't, or whatever the math is, where he misses by like a
yes.
match.
He's 1-2 right now. I think at most he should only, if he's going to lose any more, he can only lose 1 more.
Yeah. If he goes 2 and 3, be 5 matches apiece. Yeah. If he goes 2 and 3, like, you're under 500, but 2 and 3 in this type of tournament.
I'd even think it's preferable if he got a tie.
Yeah. 2
Put a tie in there and it's fine.
Yeah. Just to keep, like I said, keep him out of the semis, even though I'd love to see him there. But if you keep him out of the semis, but still give him a strong run there, he'll be great. Absolutely. And then we'll go into whatever we go into with the House of Black next. And hopefully he's still hanging out with Julia. Because that was always really cool watching that big ass dude follow that tiny little girl to the ring. It's just like, but she's the scary one. It was always been funny.
Yeah.
After this, we went backstage with Private Party. Apparently, they've opened up a new club. I think they called it the Vault. If I couldn't completely understand them, but it sounded like the Vault. What happens there stays there. Sounds very familiar, like a different place. Anyway, Action Andretti and Leo Rush then come over, and after some daps, after they can get some of that, with Leo specifying they meant the gold when the champs try to give them shots, with Action saying that's what he wants from Santa. Zay starts going off on a tangent about how he wants a hot, thick, juicy, and then he gets interrupted by Layla Gray, who comes over, and he just goes, "Oh, Christmas came early." Top Flight roll in behind Layla, asking what tag team matches Action and Leo have won to deserve a title shot, and Leo responds by asking who were the ones that eliminated Top Flight from the Battle Royal, and then the two teams starts arguing. So Quen, I think it was Quen, calms everybody down and says the two teams should have a match on Collision, and the winner can get a shot at the titles. Everyone agrees, and Leo offers his hand to Darius, asking him if there's any hard feelings. Darius shakes his hand, but pulls Leo in really quick before smiling and patting him on the back, saying there's no hard feelings. And then as everyone leaves, Zay again comments that Christmas came early, and Quen's like, bro, stop. Zay's just completely out of pocket. That being said, completely right. We then, after commercial, came back to a backstage interview by Renee with Mercedes Moné and Anna Jay before their TBS championship match next week on Dynamite. So Renee starts off by, introducing everybody and lets Mercedes do her thing. So Mercedes doesn't yell at her this time. Before asking Mercedes about her New Japan Strong title defense on Sunday. Instead, Moné decides to blow off that question, just deciding to patronize Anna, saying how cute it was that she went to Japan just like she did. But Mercedes says that Anna is 26 and just getting started, as opposed to Mercedes, when she was 26, was already a 5-time world champion, and now she is the greatest TBS champion of all time. So now on Wednesday, Anna will have to find out that there's a price to pay when you mess with Mercedes Moné. Blah, blah, blah. Mercedes goes to leave. However, Anna stops her, saying that Mercedes not only agreed to no physicality, but a face-to-face, so she's going to have to stay there and listen to what Anna has to say. And that is the fact that Anna thinks that Mercedes is a living legend, and she actually admires everything she does in the ring. And she knows that she is coming into their match as an underdog, but everyone has always underestimated her for her entire life. So she wants Mercedes to continue to underestimate her, because once Mercedes makes that first attack, Anna is going to capitalize it, because all she needs is 1, 2, 3 seconds to shock the world and become TBS champion. And as she is counting, she counts the first 2 claps and then shoves Mercedes' title on the third one before turning around and leaving. Much to, I don't know if Mercedes was pissed, impressed, or a little bit of both, but it seemed to stir Mercedes a little bit. And yeah, it was solid. Mercedes actually did much better here than I feel like she has done on the mic in a while. And she's doing her thing. I feel like when she's babyface, she cuts very generic babyface promos. When she's heel, she tends to cut fairly heel promos. But her work in the ring has improved a lot.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
I am looking forward to this match. It did hype me up a little bit. So it should be good. But good job, really good job out of Mercedes here. This is the Mercedes Moné I want.
Yes, likewise. Some people are more comfortable backstage. Even if this wasn't a pre-tape and this was live, some people are just better in that situation than being in front of the crowd speaking. Yeah. And if that's the key to her success, go with it. I'm not gonna turn my nose at it. I want to care about this. I just don't, because I know it's just another Anna Jay loss. And again, I don't need Anna Jay to be the TBS champion. I don't need her to be Mercedes.
True.
It's just we've gotten so many of these throwaway matches where it's so obvious to all of us that Mercedes isn't losing. I would like for a real contender to go for it.
Yeah, I mean, we've gotten real contenders to go for it, but I feel like Mercedes does have a lot of these throwaway matches where she's faced Stat and Britt Baker and I think even Sheeta, but
wait, did Mercedes go against Britt?
Yeah, at All In, didn't she? Wasn't that the All In match? Am I going crazy?
I'm sure you're right.
Maybe not. Maybe it wasn't for the title, but she won that title.
Yeah, I think it was pre-title. Oh, no,
I could be wrong.
No, I think you're 100% right, but it's like, yes, it did. I didn't even get to look it up. It did happen, and then Britt went away again for like a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah,
and we've barely seen her since.
Yeah,
I just don't remember if it was for the title.
No, it was.
No, it had to have been. Yeah, because Mercedes has been champ for 200 days now.
Yeah,
it's a good
that's
run.
sad. That's sad.
Well, dude, I think there is a non-zero chance Anna gets a win next week. I think there's a chance. Yeah, it's a small chance, but I think it's a chance. Even if it's just
I'll be happy.
Yeah, even if it's just as a transitional champion and just to free Mercedes up to do other things. But we'll see. It'd be fun. Give Anna a chance, take the ball. And then, maybe, as Danny was saying, you can get somebody like Toni Storm or Thunder Rosa to go after it and take it. Or, you want to put it on Deonna Purrazzo. If you want to put it on Jamie Hayter.
Sure.
After she's back, she's on her feud with Julia Hart, depending on who wins that. Like, there's a lot of directions you could go, and then you can kind of see what you have with Anna being a champion for a month or two. So I think it's a possibility, just because I think there is some logic behind that maybe happening. All right, it's saying the match between Mercedes and Britt was on pay-per-view. Might have even been a pre-show match. I thought
no, it was definitely there's no way Mercedes and Britt would be on the pre-show.
Yeah, I could have sworn it was all in because I thought they were building the whole the face of the women's division in AEW versus the new face or the one who's becoming the new face.
I'm looking it up now.
All right, well, you do that. Let's talk about the actual face of the AEW women's division. It was all in.
All in, and it was the third main event.
Thank you. Mariah May versus Mina Shirakawa for the AEW Women's World Champion. We discussed a little bit of this, so I'll mostly the stuff that happened with Toni. So we can talk about the match. We did mention Thunder Rosa was in the stands, and early in the match, Mariah injured her knee when the two women rolled out of the ring and onto the floor, locked in a figure four, with Mina doing even more damage by getting in the figure four around the ring post. Later in the match, Mina hit a side suplex and a reverse DDT before getting Mariah into the ropes and hitting a draping DDT that Mariah was able to escape by grabbing the bottom rope to break up the pin. Then as Mina is pulling Mariah up, Mariah kind of grabbed her tights and around her waist and whatever and pulled Mina into the ropes, giving Mariah the time to get up, hit a knee strike, and then hit the ropes to hit a running knee strike, followed by a Mayday, but Mina was surprisingly able to kick out of all of that. Mariah then went for another Mayday, but Mina hit a crucifix bomb, and Mariah kicked out of that, and then Mina went up top for a top rope sling blade, and Mariah was able to kick out of that as well. Mina then hit the glamorous bomb, which is her finisher, and Mariah is, again, surprisingly able to kick out. I thought there was a small chance there. They had me.
Yeah, no, I got worked. I got worked.
As the two get back up, Mariah was able to quickly surprise Mina pretty much out of fucking nowhere with the Storm Zero, and then pinned Mina to retain the AEW Women's World Championship. And then obviously after the match, as Mariah was celebrating, Toni Storm came out to thunderous applause. But we discussed all that already. So James, this match was almost everything I wanted it to be, just because it was too short.
Yeah,
but it was hard hitting. It was between two women who know each other very well, even though they've only faced off once before in I don't remember the name of the Stardom tournament, but it was the G1 equivalent. So just good stuff. It was two former tag team partners who had just turned in each other for freaking, the top women's title. It was good. They kicked the shit out of each other. Very strong style, which I would expect nothing less from two women from Stardom. So if they had just given them more than friggin' 11 minutes, I would have been so much happier with this match. But that being said, well done by both of these women. And I hope we get to see Mina more here in AEW.
That is my big thing coming out of this. I don't want Mina to just go away. And I think she will. I understand why. She's not under AEW contract. She's still in Japan. But I really would love Mina to become a regular part of this roster.
I think she will. She just needs her contract to run out. And rumor is it's going to be soon. No one's really sure, but rumor is it's soon. And AEW really wants her because she has quickly gotten over with the crowd.
All the Joshis have.
Yep.
Or at the very least, most of them have. And like the ones that haven't, they have, just not to the same level. Like
Yeah.
Shida, unbelievably over. Riho causes tidal waves of fan support whenever she shows up.
Yuka Sakazaki just has everyone screaming "ya ya ya" for fucking
Exactly.
45 minutes.
Emi Sakura, like
Everyone knows she's a great worker.
Exactly. And I don't know why, but Maki Ito not being on the AEW roster just feels like a fucking sin at this point. But gets over whenever she's here. Or when she was here.
Yeah.
The Joshis just get it. They
and
know
Mina
how to
was-
get over.
Mina was pandemic too. Or not Mina. Maki. She was mostly in the pandemic. She barely had fans to be in front of in AEW. And people were still bugging out.
Absolutely. And she said she wants to go to AEW. So I don't know what's going on there. I really hope she comes back. She sticks around for when she does come back. The match was great. Like you said, worst part about it is how little time they had, but man, did these women pack a lot in there. I think you can have good short matches. Like we all joke about the WWE Speed title. I still hate that it exists, but I do like the concept of, even if it's not official, I like the unofficial concept of how good a match can we have in such a short time.
Yeah.
So it just sucks that it's always the women who are in that position in AEW. Like, I think I saw a stat the other day. I still don't think there's been a single AEW women's match that's gone over 20 minutes yet.
That's crazy.
I think the closest was like 19 minutes and change, but I still don't think we've had a single one hit the 20-minute mark yet.
Was it Mercedes Statlander at the pay-per-view?
I think so.
That one was long and it was good. And honestly, it was really good. And I wanted something like that for this.
Yeah.
I was hoping they'd get at least 15, and they barely scraped 10. And I don't know if that's just because of the overrun, and they told them you got to cut out a bunch of stuff. But, I mean, granted, both women kicked out of each other's finishers.
Yes.
Or, Mayday, I guess, is Mariah's finisher, and then she stole Storm Zero from Toni.
And I think the Storm Zero aspect of this was almost the worst part of the match. It felt so sudden.
Yeah, right? I was just like, fuck, it ended?
Yeah. It didn't feel like an out of nowhere Storm Zero. It felt like we got to take this home Storm Zero.
Yeah. And that's I think why I'm most disappointed with how little time they got, because it led to that, where I wanted a really big showy finish for these two women, because they have so much history and because this has been a friggin' blood feud. We also didn't get blood. That was slightly surprising.
I'm okay. No need to bust them up. Yeah. It would have been a good visual of like a bloody Mariah terrified of Toni.
Yeah.
But I'm fine.
Also, I think the Toni Mariah match again will probably need blood.
Yes, exactly. You don't need to overdo it.
The way they wrestled this match, it wouldn't have fit in the way they wrestled this match.
Yeah. No,
even though they
were
cracking the shit out of each other.
They really were. Those knee strikes that Mariah hit on Mina were vicious.
They're so good.
Yeah.
Best ones this side of Sheamus.
Knee strikes?
Yeah, Mariah's got some good ones. Sheamus has got some good ones. There's a lot. I know.
We live in a world with Kenny Omega.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I don't really. Yeah, well, V triggers are like their own category for me, I feel like.
Fair enough. I have loved every moment of the Toni, Mariah, Mina saga. And I know we were talking last week that you are of the belief it doesn't need to go back to Toni. This has always been a feud for Toni and Mariah. The title being a part of it is almost secondary to me.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think, the feud has to go back to Toni. The title doesn't.
Yeah. But unfortunately, the title is attached to Mariah. Yeah. So
there are ways around that.
What? There are, but
she was in the crowd.
For sure. I don't think it'll feel as satisfying. At this point, you just gotta go all the way with it. So
not the first time it's been said in this feud.
We haven't gotten our champagne celebration, and what's the point, really? So, good way to end the show. if you're not going to end with the world title, the men's world title. So good way to end the show. So happy Toni's back. And yes, she unfortunately she stole some of the limelight from the match itself, but the match was strong, quick but strong.
Yeah,
and a lot of moving parts. I'm very excited for Thunder Rosa. I'm very excited for Toni to be back. I hope Mina sticks around and gets involved in the finish of the feud. I don't want her to just go away before the feud's over. And Mariah, I've been saying it, Mariah has been better than her reign has indicated.
Yep.
So I think she's at 108 days. Now
yeah, she's
109.
She's just a little over 100.
So she made the most, like this match, she made the most of a very quick reign.
Yeah. And look, say what you will about the matches she's had. You know, maybe they all haven't been the best, but her character work has been second to none.
Phenomenal.
So, yeah, maybe if this wasn't the best reign in terms of in-ring quality, out-of-ring quality, for lack of a better phrase, you haven't been able to top it recently. So she
completely agree.
Has done an absolutely great job. I wish they had more time, but as for us, we're pretty much running out because we did an hour 40 on tangents.
We're bordering on 3 hours, so let's wrap it up.
I'm surprised my neighbors haven't said anything. But James, really quick, I thought this was a great Dynamite. It was obviously, as we said at the top of the show, Winter is Coming has always been a very strong show. And I don't really think I can complain about too much except the lack of time for the women at the end. Everything was good. All of the matches were good. The vignettes were good. The promos were good. I guess the only other nitpick I had is there was a DQ in the first match, but it led to a fatal four-way at the pay-per-view that I'm very excited for. Also, I did forget about one thing with the Mina thing because I wanted to say that you thought the men maybe should have main evented, or if you were going to have the men main event for the opening show, you do the women at the end. And I do have to give Toni credit. When the women have a title match and there is no other title match on the card, he will let it main event.
Yeah,
he knows
as it should. It should.
You do put the title at the end. So I did want to give Toni credit in that aspect. But like I said, top to bottom, this was great. The return of Toni Storm is amazing. I again want to shout out Darby Allin's promo. I think it's going to go very under the radar, but I very, very much enjoyed it.
Yeah. Strong show. Winter is Coming. I said it to you last week. It's my second favorite themed episode that AEW does. It's always, like you said, it's always delivered, and I think it delivered again tonight.
What's the first?
Grand Slam.
Oh, yeah, duh.
Yeah, and that's total bias.
I know, but that's almost like a pay-per-view, I feel like.
I mean, in the past, they treated Winter is Coming as such, too. Like, they've always had title matches on it, and in the past, they've actually had the Diamond Ring Battle Royal happen on it as well.
Yeah. They and they added like that semi-final thing now for the Battle Royal.
And that was just for the drama of it all. Yeah. That was just for the drama of it all.
Yeah, like I was gonna say, like, see, maybe the worst match on the card was fucking Cole and O'Reilly, and that is saying something because that was still a good match.
Exactly. So very much enjoyed tonight's Dynamite. I think they're on a good little streak here. I'm looking forward to World's End. I'm looking forward to next week's Holiday Bash.
Yep.
I'm surprised that next week is Holiday Bash and not Christmas. Are they running a Dynamite on Christmas Day? I'm sure they're not actually live, but
no. I you know what? I'm gonna guess no. I'm fairly certain TBS runs A Christmas Story the entire weekend.
That makes sense
on Christmas. So
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Pretty
okay.
Sure. Why would you're going to go up against the NBA and the NFL game on Netflix?
I wouldn't run a show on Christmas Day either, but
yeah,
I'm surprised they're not going to have a Dynamite at all that week. They usually run it on a different day.
Oh, maybe. Yeah. You could always just run it like Christmas Eve and just or pre-tape it.
Or even the day after Christmas, you know,
yeah,
no matter what, it should be a pre-tape. No matter what, it should be taped ahead of time. But yeah, good show. Good show.
Yeah, very, very happy with it. Like you said, there's a lot of momentum heading towards these last few Dynamites before World's End. Hopefully, Collision can get some momentum going too. Because it sounds like they've been really good, But if you don't tell us that Okada's facing Fletcher, we're not going to watch it. So there's that.
Yep.
All right. So before we go, just a real quick chat check. And it's saying good chat and show. Cheers. Cheers to you as well, man.
Thanks,
Thank
pal.
you. And one final thought from him. Tony's back is back. That's right, Jack.
It never left. It never left.
Very, very true. Yep. Dev's got me on this. 24 Hours of a Christmas Story every Christmas at 8 on CBS and TNT. They run it all the whole time. So
Insanity.
Yeah, I've never seen that movie.
I refused because as a kid I wasn't interested. And then as I got older, it's just like I was rebelling against the fact that it played for 24 hours. I'm like, I'm intentionally not going to watch you.
Yeah,
I've since finally watched it, and it's fine.
That's the other thing too. I've never heard like it's amazing. You need to watch it. I do have it on VHS though. It was in Grandpa's. It was in Grandpa's tape collection. So, so I do have it.
It's making a comeback,
dude. I have all of my VHSs.
I never threw any away.
Not only do I have all my VHS tapes, I still have my original VHS player that I had from when I was a kid.
So we should wrap this up, but I called it a VHS player earlier today, and I immediately corrected myself, and it's like, that's a VCR. I don't know if this means I'm really young or if I'm really old, but it's a VCR.
I usually end up saying VHS player just because I try to explain what a VHS is to my younger cousins, and they have no fucking idea what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Well, just don't put your eye out and you'll be fine. But all right. On that note, I would like to thank everybody so much for watching us here at the Market Down Podcast. We appreciate it if you stuck around for all 2 hours and 56 minutes of this show.
Looking at you,
God bless you.
Looking at you, Dev.
That is far too long even for us. But we had special guest Danny make a grand return, and we had a BS with him. So if you did enjoy all of this nonsense, we'd appreciate it if you liked and subscribed. As always, liking lets us know that you enjoyed the episode, and subscribing allows you to have access to all of our stuff here on YouTube and lets you know when we're doing live shows. James, speaking of live shows, will there be a Gym Pack Zone tomorrow?
I have an event tomorrow. I'm going to do my best. I may have to do a delayed one because I'm getting back on the train for.
Okay. But trust me, guys, James will be bringing back Gym Pack Zone sooner than later. He loves that show way too much.
I do. Next week, we will have members of the team at House of Glory. So if you want to come say hi to us then. We will be working on a very fun special project that day. And yeah. Yeah,
I'll be there. James will be there. Producer Boy will be there.
Nick will be there too.
Ah, yes, Nick M. All right, good. We got a large crowd. And is Matt going?
He's deciding between that and Final Battle, which Tony Khan, thank you for ruining my December by making Final Battle the same day as a show I already bought front row tickets to.
You absolute fool. Not you, Tony.
Yep.
But yeah, keep a lookout for us there. We'll definitely have some good content coming out from that show, both right after on all of our social media platforms, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, in the description below here on YouTube. But also, as James said, we're working on a really cool project. So as that gets closer to in production and post-production, we'll let you guys know where you can get it. As for those of you who are watching us over on Twitter or on Facebook, thank you. And if you would like to follow us on any of our other platforms, Twitter is at marketdown_pod. Instagram is at marketdownpod. YouTube.com/marketdown3665. And Blue Sky is like marketdownpod.bsky.app or social, whatever.
We'll work on that.
No, I know. It's like that's like how they're all set up.
Gotcha.
But if you just search Market Down podcast on Blue Sky, you will absolutely find us. We're the only Market Down podcast on there. So we're good. I made sure of it.
Hell yeah.
James, any quick things before we go?
Love you guys. We'll see you soon.
Dev, I got Juan Soto.
Dev, the man, Dev. You the man, Dev. Let's go.
Still got Juan Soto. Have a good night, everyone.
Okay.
What was it? 768 million?
All right.
Jeez.